Svartalfheim. Excuse me, Svartalfheim. This quarter-sized fjord art ripoff is where I'm gonna be spending the next 100 days fighting dwarven midgets, harvesting new resources, and taking on the Bane of Thordor. Yeah, I really don't know how to say his name. Anyway, a small detail that I've also left out is that there are no flyers on Svartalfheim. So this is gonna present new challenges in literally every aspect of the game, and I'm definitely not ready for it. Yeah, I'm already dreading farming metal. So, please, pray for me and all the little dwarven midget warriors on this map. They're not safe. Since I only had 4 spawn locations to choose from, I decided to spawn on Seagull Bay as it was the only easy spawn point available. Yeah, I'm spawning in Seagull Bay. And after the usual implant scratch, I admired the area, which looked beautiful. Okay. This doesn't look too bad, besides the gang of Dilos. The Dilos weren't much of a threat to me, but I quickly ran into something else.
Hi there.
Oh my god, never mind, I take it back. I looked around and I spotted a Master Oogway just enjoying his day nearby, so I stood next to him in hopes that the Pego would leap at me, hitting Oogway in the process, but it didn't exactly go to plan. Oh, okay. Anyways, it was time to actually get going. I picked up another rock and punched a tree until I got wood. I then made my first pickaxe and I used it to gather flint and then more wood. And I did all that to unlock the spear and hatchet engrams before crafting a hatchet and using it to get my first bits of hide. I'm sorry, Mr. Dodo. It has to be done. He fought back. He did not like that. But then I heard something right next to me in the bush and I quickly realized that I made a huge mistake. Oh, that was your father, wasn't it? I'm sorry about that. Me being sorry did not last too long though, as I spotted another dodo fleeing for its life. I'm not that sorry, I need more hide. Killing it also gave me a level, which meant I could now make cloth armor. That being said, I picked up a bunch of bushes for fiber and I made me some clothes. Now that I wasn't running around in my underwear anymore, it was time to go back and pay a visit to our Dilo friends. I'm gonna deal with these Dilos that are terrorizing my beach. That's right, I've claimed this is my beach. This is Granty's beach. With a few spears made, I got straight to work. This Dilo was about to end these baby dodos, so I had to intervene. Pick on someone your own size. And it took all 4 of my spears to the noggin before it collapsed. But as soon as it did though, this Pego came back to steal from me again, but this time I wouldn't let that slide. I impaled it with my spears, then chased it down with my hatchet. What did you take? Oh, my narco berries? Yeah, I want this. The pest control did not stop just yet though, as I spotted another Dilo. This one tried to throw hands with a parasaur, so I came to the rescue and domed the Dilo with all of my spears, but somehow it survived. And it actually got a few good bites off me as well, which actually injured me to the point where I couldn't run anymore. Oh, no. I can't die to a Dilo. I can't get folded by a Dilo. Heal. Thankfully, I recovered just in time. I didn't have any resources to craft any more spears on me though, so I had to resort to a different tactic. It was smart to turn around and run the other way when it saw me hide behind the trike. However, that opened up a window of opportunity for me to go in and kill it. Take advantage. A few hits later, it ate the ground and I finally got a little bit of hide. Then I continued exploring the area until another Pego literally jump scared me. Oh! Anyhow, I now have to make new spears, so I picked up a few bushes and smacked a tree and a rock, then finally made the spears. What is that? Isn't that a giant snake? Goes around the world. Besides the enormous flying snakes, I had to get some food cooking ASAP as I was getting a little bit hungry. So I packed up another Dilo, unlocked a campfire engram, and I ran down the beach to find a spot to settle down for a bit. I'm gonna have to move across this little river canal type thing to get over to those trees. There was also a dead Basilosaurus in the river, which gave me a bit of spoiled meat, oil, and hide. Later on, once I swam across the water, I slapped down my campfire and started cooking up a little bit of meat. And while waiting for that to cook, I unlocked a few essential engrams. And I also farmed some more basic resources, which I then used to craft a bow and arrows. And now it was time to introduce my new primitive technology to the local Dilos. I killed a level 100 and a level 145. And so far, every Dilo I've seen was a high level, which wasn't optimal at the moment. But hopefully, I'll have the same luck finding actually useful high-level dinos in the future to tame as well. While farming, the sun started going down, meaning that it was getting colder and colder. And I still wasn't high level enough to make hide armor, but this kind sir appeared just to help me with that. I'm sorry. I need hide and meat. Just right here. I was still far from the top of the food chain though, so I spotted a duo of Troodons in the forest behind me. And since nighttime was approaching, I decided to pack my things up and go back to my beach. Oh, there's 2 parasaurs. Yeah, I need to tame one of these. I then placed and lit my campfire again to keep me warm for the night. I looked at all the parasaurs levels on day 2. I'm definitely gonna need Trank arrows to knock those out. But Trank arrows are only unlocked at level 21, meaning it was time to farm up a bunch of cooking pots for levels. And while farming, I also unlocked and crafted a set of hide armor to finally keep me warm. Oh yeah, this hide's barely keeping me warm enough. While whacking away at a rock, the entire sky illuminated for a brief moment. Alright, why is it green? Northern Lights. Anyhow, I got to level 21 soon after, so I returned back to my campfire and I started working on a tiny outpost. I made a thatch foundation and then farmed up a mortar and pestle. Easy narcotics, and then I can unlock trank arrows here. Awesome. One of these parasaurs was about to be turned into Perry. I waited for my narcotics to finish crafting, then I made a few tranks and settled for the level 90. I bulleted it and started knocking it out. You will be my Perry. It knocked out just before it ran out of arrows. So I then picked up a few meho berries and fed the parasaur and made more narcotics. What do I need for a parasaur saddle? Hide. Lots of it. Good thing I got little friends like you. Thankfully, there was no shortage of hide walking around the area. No dodos or lystros were safe from me. And just like that, I got all the hide I need. And after just a bit of standing around the parasaur, it tamed, and of course, you already know, I named it Perry. As I think I already said, since there's no flyers, having strong land dinos is really going to be the key here. And I don't want to go that far inland until I have said strong land dinos. I ran down the beach where I came across my first drop, and it looked quite interesting. This is indeed a drop, but why does it look like that? Oh, it's like a little dwarven statue gun. That's sick. Anyhow, I continued up the path that led up to a clearing that could potentially be a good starting spot for an outpost or a small base. This area isn't looking too bad. There were also these gold looking nodes, so I whipped out my pickaxe and smacked them to see what they were. And to my surprise, it was actually metal, a good resource I would need to get my hands on really soon. I think I will be setting up right here then. Easy access to metal was just another benefit of this area. It also wasn't swarming with pegos like the beach. That being said, I slapped down my foundation and campfire and looked for what I needed for a fort. Flint, hide, and stone. And conveniently enough, some hide then entered my field of view right away. I'm sorry. But I only got 52 hide from this parasaur, so I had to clap another. Your friend was the better friend. You wouldn't be dying right now. Alright, and now with hide checked off the list, I smacked up a couple of rocks to get all the stone and flint out of the way. And then I finally made the forge. Awesome. Got a forge. Now it was time to actually get some metal so I could upgrade to metal tools. This is a nice area. There's a ton of metal. I did get slightly interrupted while farming by a couple of meganoras, but I quickly turned them into my first few bits of chitin. Whatever, I got enough metal for a smithy and a pickaxe. And while waiting for the metal to smelt, I spotted the first problem in the distance. Oh my god, there's a carno. What wasn't helping either was the fact that the moss shops that it was chasing ran right towards my outpost. So I slowly backed up and watched it as it tore through everything in the area. But finally, once it wandered off a little bit, I ran up to my forge, grabbed the metal, and made the smithy and placed it back down. I then unlocked the metal pickaxe engram and crafted one. I'm gonna go farm metal with this metal pickaxe. Hopefully it skedaddles by the time I'm back. So I farmed up a bit of metal and returned back to my outpost to smelt it. And there I also unlocked the crossbow engram before chopping down a few trees for wood so I could keep the forge and campfire running. I then also placed down my mortar and pestle before looking at what I needed to upgrade my hatchet to metal as well. Hatchet, I need hide. No way. And since I'm a pro, I jumped off the cliff and dismounted right before hitting the ground to avoid fall damage. I wanted to get hide from the dead whale on the beach, but this area got compromised by raptors, so I peaced out. Not to worry though, as I went back up the cliff where I spotted another form of hide minding its own business. Parasaur. Okay, I'll kill that for hide. And I also domed the only witness to this murder. Once I arrived back at my outpost, I made the metal hatchet and the crossbow. I was planning on taming a trike now that I had the means to do so. So I ran down to the metal spot where I found a level 90 trike and a level 95 stego, both of which could be a good tame to keep me safe for the time being. Alright, let me farm some more metal while I'm down here, and I think I'm gonna work on constructing a safe base next. Which is something I would definitely be in need of considering what I soon spotted. Oh my god, there is a Rex. No! That is detrimental. So I unlocked the stone structure engrams on day 3 and got to farming. Yeah, that Rex is gonna be heading this way here soon. Anyhow, I farmed up 4 foundations, 8 walls, and 4 ceilings for a basic 2x2. I placed the foundations down and turned one of the walls into a double door frame, then the rest into windows. And I of course covered the roof with the ceilings as well. Then I farmed up doors to cover up all the windows and the double door. While the Rex was wandering about farther away from my outpost, I ran over to retrieve my stuff. I picked up all the structures and resources, then waddled back over to my base to place them all down again. When I walked back inside my base, however, though, something felt different. Whoa, wait, hold up. Is that Light of Motirum?
Yes.
Oh, well then, I didn't know you could speak English, Perry. Anyway, while I place my structures down here, let me tell you more about Light of Motirum. Light of Motirum is a new open-world survival adventure game blending ARPG elements with your classic survival and open-world crafting framework. Alright, let me put the forge down right here, that looks good. The world of Light of Motirum is reclaimed by nature and ruled by giant mechanical beasts called mechanimals. So basically like Tech Dinos and Ark Survival Evolved, but on steroids. And you can choose to fight or bond with these mechanimals while also exploring the breathtaking landscapes Light of Motirum has to offer. Okay, let me throw down the smithy right there, and oh, I almost forgot that I already watched the game's trailer. This game looks amazing. The visuals are crazy. What is that thing? What are these things? Oh, this must be the combat. As you saw, the combat system is crazy. I've definitely got a lot to learn coming from basic art combat. Light of Motirum looks amazing visually, the mechanicals are sick, and the gameplay is new and fresh. What more could you ask for? So check out Light of Motirum using my link in the description or pinned comment, and make sure to wishlist it to support me, and so I can afford to feed Perry. This guy eats more mayho berries than you can imagine. And as the sun started to rise, I noticed the Rex had wandered over to the level 95 Stego and was now fighting it. So I ran over on Perry to help the Stego out. I gotta go help out. I need the Stego to kill this Rex. They were both super bloody, but I shot the Rex and dropped it dead just before the Stego was killed. And that was the first major threat in the area taken care of. Teamwork, why are you still swinging? Brother, it is dead. I also got a bunch of hide from the corpse, and speaking of more hide, I know I said everything about teamwork, but you're looking mighty killable here. Just like that, my hide stocks were booming once again, so I returned back to base and made some more narcotics and devised a quick plan for my defenses. I'm gonna craft up a gate, spike walls. So I wanted to start getting all the resources for it. I made the gate and gateway, then went back inside to craft a sickle, as getting fire by hand was not optimal anymore. After slicing down a few bushes, I made 6 spike walls, and I placed down the main gate in front of my base as well as the spike walls. I also then dropped one more tree and made the last few spikes and placed those down as well. Alright, got a secured-ish base area, I guess. One problem with the area though was a lack of easy access to water, so I hopped on Perry to go out and explore the surrounding area a bit to see what I could find. I'm gonna run across this bridge here. So I stopped by the other side of the bridge to craft up a few extra bolas to keep me safe just in case any raptors were lurking around the corner. Anyhow, continuing through the forest, I came across some liquid. However, it was definitely not what I needed. But more importantly, I stumbled across a level 145 trike, so I noted that down before continuing the adventure up the hill through this cave-looking entrance. However, I quickly turned around when I saw what was waiting for me up there. Oh my god. Screw that, I'm not even messing with Allosauruses. I did briefly come back to base, but the exploration didn't end there, as I still needed to find crystal somewhere so I can make a spyglass. I'm hoping there's some just at the top of this mountain, but we'll see. I made it to the top, but there was a Rex blocking the path forward, and I used the orbit mode to look around to see if I could spot any crystal, but I didn't see much of anything. Doesn't look like it. Alright, well, since I need crystal so bad, I think I'm gonna have to tame something a little bit better to traverse the lands with. Maybe that iguanodon is a good level. I ran up to it, but I was quickly met with more disappointment. Oh, 25? Yeah, you're getting turned into hide, buddy. After doming and harvesting the iguanodon, I came up to a small river to hydrate myself, and that actually led me to a path which ended up in a tiny village. I checked out all the houses, but they were all empty, so I continued the adventure along the river. Blue drop? Alright, I gotta go for it. Inside, I found a few trank arrows, which was definitely welcome right now, but the rest of the loot I despawned and watched the drop disappear. This thing just... oh yeah, it just disappears, I guess. Soon after that, I found another blue drop, which I found another artifact pedestal and a toilet. Not something I was in need of at the moment though, but could definitely be useful later on. I returned to base on day 4, but at this point I stopped looking for travel dinos. Instead, I continued hiking on Perry. I think I might just send it. Go exploring on the parasaur. I jumped down the cliff where I followed a path through the forest that eventually led me up to another hill. What are the odds there's crystal over here? I ran across this bridge that was in questionable condition, but I arrived at this decayed castle. It looked cool and all, but it lacked crystals, so I turned around and continued back towards the lava. Crystal with, of course, a lava river in between. But there was some crystal on my side of the lava river, so I got to farming it. I also smacked down the burnt tree to see if it gave charcoal, and it did. What is this? Dead deathworm. Harvestable? Oh, yep. And with the crystal now acquired, I whacked a tree for wood and then crafted the spyglass. Going back towards base though, I put my spyglass to work straight away. I checked out a Carno on the other side of this mountain, and it was actually at level 150. I need to tame that. I didn't even want to go back home, as that was too much of a hassle. So instead, I split a bunch of meat in my inventory to spoil, and I started farming up another tiny outpost. The first thing I needed was a ton of hide, of course. So I dropped a parasaur and then smacked a few more trees for wood, followed by some rocks as well. I then made 4 more foundations before running into a forest to farm up the rest of the trap. Alright, well,
I have the trap. Gotta make the mortar pestle and narcotics now.
I placed one of the foundations down as well to place down the mortar and pestle, and I then used Perry to get a bunch of narco berries. And while those crafted into narcotics, I started crafting a bunch more arrows, which I then turned into tranks. After that, I went out to get some water, and as I was coming back, I came across a raptor fighting the turtle. So I decided to help out the turtle and kill the raptor for some free hide. And by the time I returned, all the narcotics were finished crafting, so I picked everything up and headed out. I followed a path through the forest, but came to a hole when a fairy posted up in the middle of the path. I tried sneaking by while I was standing still looking off into the distance, but as soon as I got close to it, it started wandering again. And in what other direction than directly towards me. This of course resulted in me getting aggroed by the fairy.
Dude, are you serious?
But not only that, an entire pack of raptors also showed up. I ran right back down the hill and somehow managed to lose the raptor's aggro as it turned around and picked a fight with the fairy. After that near life ending experience, I decided to go back towards the Carno. I posted up on the other side of the hill and got its attention by shooting an arrow at it. I then constructed most of the trap, leaving one side open so the Carno could walk right in. I then parked Perry far away on the broken down bridge as I didn't want him getting in the way of the Carno. Anyway, back to the said Carno, I shot it once more while it was munching on a parasaur and then let it inside the trap and placed down the last 2 door frames, but not exactly on the first try.
Oh no.
Oh! I also managed to misplace the last door frame, but thankfully I picked it up in time to place it back down, trapping the Carno inside. I then started knocking it out when a wild parasaur got a little bit too close to the trap. It ran around frantically for a little bit, and seeing the Carno was slowly getting bloody from all the tranks, I decided I had enough of this parasaur. So I switched back to stone arrows and chased it down with a bola and killed it. I then dragged its corpse back to the Carno and into the trap on day 5. However, it didn't eat the parasaur and it got knocked out, so I dragged the body out of there and harvested it for hide instead.
I think it looks pretty strong.
However, I still had to get some prime meat for it and a bunch of levels to actually unlock the saddle ingot. So I farmed up some more arrows and then started looking around to see if I could spot anything that could be turned into prime meat. I did also open a blue drop, but the loot was more than underwhelming. Anyways, I then ran back over to the decayed castle again, and I jumped down the hill from the backside to hydrate at the river. Following the water, I came across these 2 giant statues. So I jumped down to find that there was a cave behind the waterfall. I was definitely not ready to explore that yet though, so I continued into the forest where a raptor noticed me, so I boloed it and killed it. I then followed the path that actually led to the beach near my base. I also had the bolo 2 more raptors and headed back up the ramp towards my base, where I then repaired my crossbow and placed down the second mortar and pestle. I then stored some of my stuff away before going back out to finally find that prime meat, and I actually came across a couple of stegos chilling in the forest.
Oh, you do have a baby.
I ran up the steep hill with Perry, then pulled out my crossbow and shot at the baby stego. All 3 of them started running towards me, but I kept shooting the small one until it pieced out into the forest. And once the pairs calmed down, I decided I might as well try and find some prime meat somewhere else, as this was gonna take forever. I spotted another Carno up the hill, so I shot it a few times before it started chasing me, and I then brought it back over to the stego so that they could deal with it instead. And everything went just according to plan. The Carno dropped dead to the floor, I pulled out my pickaxe and got a little bit of prime. I then returned back to my Carno that I was taming to feed it.
Alrighty, I got 2 prime meat for you.
It still had to eat a bunch of raw meat to tame, which wasn't optimal, but oh well, what can you do? Anyways, once it finally tamed, I named it Baby Rex. And I picked up the trap, then whistled it to follow me all the way back to base. And I also got it to kill a Dilo for me, and after jumping down a hill, it accidentally aggroed an entire family of Chacolotheriums.
Oh, I just aggroed that. Dude, if this thing dies, I'm actually gonna be so mad.
Thankfully, it was strong enough to take them down, and I got some prime meat and hide in the process at least. Anyways, I then force-fed Baby Rex some raw meat before continuing the journey back home. And I made it back to the beach where Baby Rex killed another couple of Dilo. But things started going south from there when 2 raptors from earlier showed up.
Oh no, Perry's gonna die. Perry!
I ran around the rock until my Carno took care of the raptors, and Perry somehow survived that altercation. Anyways, I then opened up the blue drop that was there waiting for me throughout the fight, but I only got some chitin armor and a bunch of junk. Anyways, I did actually have to take care of 1 more raptor before I finally made it back home. I then stored my stuff away into the smithy, repaired my crossbow once again, and went out with Perry to grind out all the rest of the levels that I needed for the Carno saddle.
I only need 4 levels.
So I got back to farming. I made a few bolas first, then continued working towards cooking pots. And on day 6, I finished making the last cooking pot, which put me up to level 46, meaning I could finally unlock the saddle ingot. Back at base, I was greeted by a Dilo corpse, in other words, free hide. Anyways, inside, I repaired my hatchet, and then I went out to gather a bit of fiber with my sickle so I could finally craft the saddle.
Arno saddle.
Oh yeah. I also crafted a bunch of stone arrows before saddling up Baby Rex and going out on a little killing spree as I wanted to level him up a little bit. I ran up one of the hills, but I quickly got turned around when a Ceratosaurus spotted me.
Oh my god.
So I ran back down there where I found a few hyenas running around, so I chased them down while also making sure I wouldn't accidentally bite one of the stegos. After that, I hydrated down by the river. I also farmed a little bit of wood from a tree, and I killed a dilo and a packy before going back inside my base.
Okay, I didn't do too much leveling. That's because I want to get more forges going with more metal.
That being said, I jumped on the back of Perry and I first gathered a little bit of fiber and stone to make 3 extra forges.
4 total forges, doesn't seem too bad. Farm the wood here to actually fuel them while I'm here as well.
And once I had a sufficient amount of wood, I returned back home, placed down the new forges, and I distributed the wood into them.
Now, time to go farm the metal.
I ran back down to the metal spot with Perry and I started smacking up a bunch of these gold looking nodes. However, farming by hand was definitely not optimal.
Farming metal like this for the rest of these 100 days is going to be rough. Definitely going to have to figure out a better method.
Now, I say for the rest of these 100 days because as I previously said, there are no flyers on this map, meaning no RGs, and running around on an Enki was also far from viable. Anyhow, for now though, I grabbed as much metal as I could on Perry and then returned back home to get my forges cooking.
Not a bad amount of metal. Probably go farm more though.
As planned, I got back on Perry and returned back to gather a little bit more metal. And as the sun started to set on the horizon, I returned back to base, evenly distributed all the metal into my forges, and I finally split some raw meat in my inventory to spoil so I can make more narcotics because, you know, I gotta keep taming stuff. I have a severe addiction.
Farm up a bunch of narcotics here. Like to do some more taming, expand my dino army.
Anyways, I also ran across the bridge to the forest behind my base to farm narco berries with Perry just before the end of the day. While farming on day 7, I unlocked the Thylacoleo saddle engram as I wanted to tame one. They were probably going to be one of the best travel dinos on the map since this map is so mountainous. Anyways, once I had just under 800 narco berries, I returned back home, placed down yet another mortar and pestle, and I started crafting a bunch of narcotics. I also repaired my tools in the smithy before looking into the engram page again.
I unlocked flak. 56. Maybe crafting all these narcotics will put me up there.
Going back out to my compound, I felt a little bit claustrophobic, so it was time to upgrade just a little bit.
I want to expand my real estate, dude.
I picked up the spikes that I had on one side and replaced them down so I could have more space around the base. And I did the same thing on the other side as well. I then chopped down a couple more trees nearby, grabbed fiber and hide from my base, and I made more spike walls. And using those, I connected the spike wall to the rock formation near my base. On a side note, this stego wandered a bit too far away from its friend and a little bit too close to me. I spyglassed it to see what level it was, and it was only level 15, meaning it was soon going to become a victim. A victim I'm going to kill. That's okay, that doesn't sound any better. After taking care of business, I ran across the bridge and into the forest on Baby Rex to chop down a few more trees there as I run out of wood again. And using that wood, I crafted the last 4 spike walls and I placed them down all the way out to the edge of the cliff. This was a pretty easy way of expanding my real estate by a decent amount while also saving up a bunch of resources by using the terrain to my advantage. And all the narcotics that I started crafting had finished production as well.
I think the best tame for this map, since there's not going to be flyers, is a Thylacoleo, since they're just so versatile. I definitely want to tame those. No idea where they spawn though. Don't know much about this map at all.
Besides Xylas, I also leveled on myself from all the farming to the point that I can now unlock flak armor. And I crafted everything except the gauntlets as I was missing just a little bit of fiber, but I took care of that quickly with my sickle. And I also made more arrows as a preparation for the journey I was about to embark on.
I think I might go on a big journey to tame a Thyla. They're just going to be so important that I can travel around the map, and I've got my Carno that can allow me to do that now.
But before that, I also grabbed some raw meat from my Carno, threw it on the campfire, and I waited for some of it to cook.
I'm heading out. I'm gonna try to get me a Thylacoleo. What do I actually need to craft the saddle before I go get one? Oh, literally just hide? I'm gonna craft one before I leave.
I went out to the river to hydrate first, but then hopped on the back of Baby Rex to find something to kill. My Carno side-eyed an Ovis for a second, but I decided to spare its life, and instead I killed an Oviraptor and a Moschops, and I also came across a family of Rexes getting attacked by raptors, so I chose to join the fight.
Oh, let's eat something. It's almost dead. Stop. You're gonna steal my kill, bro.
But I got the Rex in the end, and I also clapped up all the raptors. Baby Rex did also lose a bit of health in the fight, so I stayed around and force-fed it some raw meat to heal it back up again. Alright, anyway, with the hide secured, I ran back towards base and finally crafted that Thyla saddle. And I grabbed whatever cooked meat that the campfire had produced and finally headed out.
Now, let's set out. Watch over my base for me, Perry. I'll be back with hopefully a Thyla friend.
I ran across the first hill just behind my base, and I quickly came across some slight resistance in the form of a saber and scorpion. No worries though, I quickly quickly turned them both into raw meat and experience before continuing down the hill. And into the forest just below me, I spotted yet another potential tame.
Oh my god. Hold up. I would need to tame that. That's not what I'm taming now.
So for the time being, I left a waypoint on my map and continued into the forest, where I then soon came across a castle or fortress looking structure, so of course, I gotta go in to investigate.
Oh, it's an obelisk.
The terminal was also an anvil, which was a pretty cool detail. Anyways, I looked inside to see the different bosses and tribute requirements, and one of those was the Gem of the Dragon, which you actually needed to craft at the tribute terminal, and it required a few artifacts to do so. You would need to do this for the 3 other bosses as well. Anyways, I continued forwards and I arrived in a valley just outside of the forest before nightfall. And on day 8, I spotted something that I really didn't expect to find on this map.
Is that a bat? Where the what?
I also got slightly distracted by a squad of Trudons biting at my Carno's toes, but I took care of them and paused at the edge of the cliff to look around the area. I then continued up the hill where the big snake was, and while running around the fog, I actually aggroed it by accident. And to make matters worse, Baby Rex has just run out of stamina.
Oh no.
So my only option was to fight back and pray I don't get one shot with poison.
I did not expect to be fighting basilisk in a forest.
Thankfully, the Bassie had the IQ of room temperature, so I just circled it while biting it and it couldn't even hit me.
Okay.
I healed my Carno back up before moving out again, and I actually jumped off the cliff into the valley area where I spotted yet another high-level Theory.
Dude, 130 there? High levels everywhere.
Anyways, I ran back down into another small village looking thing. I took care of a few Trudons before continuing the journey by following a path that led into a forest between the valley and the mountains. And I went off the path next to this lake, and after a bit of running around, I actually found what I was looking for.
Oh yeah, here's the redwoods.
And I didn't even have to enter the redwoods before I found a high-level Thyla.
Oh my god. Dude, this map is just full of high levels.
Without any hesitation, I constructed the trap, once again leaving one side open, and I crafted a bunch of trank arrows, and I got the Thyla's attention by shooting it. It fell down behind the hill, so I had to get it to aggro once again, and once I actually did, it chased me back into the trap. I placed down the first double door, but the second one was placed somewhere in the shadow realm or something.
Hey, where did that place?
So I had no other option but to get off my Carno and farm up one more stone wall while the Thyla was still free to leave. But since it was still aggroed to me, it kind of just stayed inside until I crafted the wall and placed it back down. And now with the 145 Thyla trap, I shot it repeatedly until it went to sleep. And I already had prime meat on my Carno from the basilisk that I killed. So I farmed up a couple of campfires, placed them down, and I cooked the prime meat as the Thylas actually do prefer cooked over raw meat. And while waiting for that to finish cooking, I spotted a red drop off in the distance, so I ran over to see if I could open it.
Oh, 60? Come on, sure that I can kill something.
As I was really close to level 60, I wasted no time and got to farming up a singular cooking pot. And luckily, it did actually only take me one to put me up to level 60, so I then opened the drop.
Spino sound?
Anyways, I then returned back to the Thyla, grabbed the cooked prime meat, and I actually ran up to the tech cave terminal to check it out. Turns out it really was a tech cave like on the island. Anyhow, I then continued up the hill where I found one stego, so I killed it and got 3 more prime meat. And once they were all finished cooking, I picked up my campfires and finally fed the Thyla. But I quickly realized I was gonna still be in need of more meat. So I ran back into the forest where I first killed a pack of raptors. I then looked around for a little bit, but I didn't see anything that could actually give me more prime, so I returned back to the Thyla and fed it some more narcotics, and then ventured up the tech cave mountain again. I opened a blue drop as well, but I didn't get anything important other than this water jar. And soon I came across another river, which inside I spotted a giant beaver dam, but more importantly a Spino on the other side. So I ran across the bridge, and I noticed the Spino was actually fighting a trike. So I joined in and started biting at the Spino. Unfortunately though, the adult trike died and the Spino healed from eating its dead body. So I shot it a few times with my crossbow before going in on my Carno again and saving the baby trike from the ruthless beast. And in return, I got a bunch of prime meat from it, so I ran back to the unconscious Thyla and replaced down my 2 campfires and finally fed the Thyla some more prime cooked meat. I waited for it to tame, and on day 9 it woke up and I renamed it.
Finally.
I picked up the trap, saddled up Kitten, and whistled for it to follow me. We went back into the redwoods where we clapped a couple of Carnos and a terror bird, and I also got jump scared by a wild Thyla.
Oh my god.
And while I was fighting it, another Carno attacked me as well, and at this point, Baby Rex was starting to hurt. So I continued running back towards home, but when I looked behind me, Kitten was nowhere to be found.
Hold up.
Thankfully, she caught up though. And since my Carno was on such low health, I paused for a bit and healed up before continuing. So I jumped off the cliff as the road ahead was blocked by a Ceratosaurus, and I really didn't want to fight it. But Kitten's pathfinding was not the best. She didn't jump down with me. Instead, she ran straight up to the Ceratosaurus and started a fight with it. So of course, I had to quickly run back to help it. And once the Ceratosaurus was dead, I looked at Kitten and she also looked pretty rough. So I healed her up before moving out again.
Am I really gonna have to go through a cave?
I really didn't feel like going around, so I just went in. And it wasn't really a cave, instead just a tunnel. I tried to avoid any fights on the rest of the way home, and I soon arrived in one piece and with a new friend, just as planned.
Barry, I'm back.
Anyways, now that I'm back, I sorted out my inventory and repaired my crossbow. Seeing my forges had run out of fuel, I hopped on Perry and went out to the forest to gather more wood for them. And now with my forges filled up again, I jumped on the back of my Thylo, where I then went down to the beach where I harvested the dead whales for more spoiled meat and oil. I then climbed right back up the hill to store my resources away.
You'll probably just try and tame that fairy. Probably gonna have to farm some more narcotics for it.
That being said, I hopped on Perry and ran over to the forest to stock up on narco berries again. And back at base, I turned them all into narcotics, and I crafted a few trank arrows as well before going out to farm a few Mayho berries. I then waited for all the narcotics to finish crafting on day 10 before going out to my waypoint to see if the theory was still around.
That 135 still here?
I ran around for a little bit looking for it, but I couldn't find it anywhere. I even checked out towards the green obelisk again, and I went up to the same hill which I initially spotted it from.
Alright, that theory is gone, dude.
I continued wandering around the woods for a little bit, but I actually found the theory, but it was not the level 135. Defeated, I started heading back home, but I then found something actually worth taming.
Oh, I found what I'm taming.
I shot the 140 Enki and he managed to get himself stuck somehow, but his friend was not helping at all. They definitely had a strong bond, and when the 140 started running, the other one followed it, and around they were perfectly in sync, switching from one another, running at me, trying to attack me again. They did get separated once the 140 actually started torpor running, and soon enough he was knocked out. And I didn't feel like killing his buddy, instead I just jumped off a cliff and he followed. I then climbed back up to see that it had a baby as well. Anyhow, I fed the 140 and I unlocked the Enki saddle engram. I then jumped down the hill where I got ambushed by a family of sabers. Even their baby came in to bite me, so I showed no mercy and ended its career along with the parent. Anyways, back at base, I looked into the smithy to see what I needed to craft the Enki saddle, and I was only missing a bit of fibers, so I harvested a few bushes inside my compound. And back inside, I made the saddle, grabbed it, and ran back up to the sleeping Enki. And for the rest of the day 10, I just watched over it and its baby, making sure that it tamed in peace. Now, I know I said walking an Enki around farming metal is gonna be kinda hard to do, but I really don't have another choice on this map. Maybe I'll figure out something in the future, but farming metal by hand is really tough. While waiting on day 11, I spotted a red drop in the distance, and I decided to go on a little side quest and check it out.
Red drop way out there. Go check that out. Kinda just waited on the Enki to tame here.
So I jumped down into the forest and ran all the way through and up another hill, but the drop was a little further away than I initially thought.
Oh, what? Thing's so far. It's better to have something good for me.
So I climbed the next hill and soon I was at the drop. Well, at the beam of the drop at least.
Where's the drop?
I looked over the cliff's edge, but I didn't see the drop. However, it was actually just on the edge of the cliff under me. Anyways, I then proceeded to lead the aggroed Kentras off the edge of the cliff and climb back up.
Is it actually in the ground?
I even used orbit mode, but I still didn't notice it.
Are we serious?
Since I didn't notice it and I believed it was in the mesh, I just decided to head back to the Yankee. And I made it back just as the sun started to rise, and while waiting around, I got attacked by a couple of Trudon.
Alright, let's not hit my Enki.
Luckily, nothing messed with me anymore, and the Enki tamed just fine.
Oh yeah.
And then I gave it a fitting name.
Chain. Because this thing's gonna be like a ball and chain because it's so slow.
Since I was already at the top of the mountain, I took the opportunity and farmed a little bit of metal with chain before leaping off and slowly waddling back to base. Anyhow, I eventually made it back to base, and I distributed the little amount of metal that I got during my travel. And I grabbed whatever spoiled meat my Thyla had and combined it with narco berries I had in my mortar and pestle and made a bit more narcotics. I then repaired my crossbow, made even more stone arrows, and then farmed some fiber. A yellow drop was coming down on the beach just below my base, so I jumped down there and waited for it to land. However, the loot inside was absolute garbage. So after that disappointment of a drop, I went back up the mountain near my base, and I actually saw something I had never seen before in Ark.
Berserk Raptor? What is that? Hello? Where's a Berserk Raptor? I gotta kill it, I guess.
I singled it out from the rest of the pack before attacking it, as I didn't know what it could do yet.
Well, it's not super strong, but it's not weak. For sure.
Killing it actually gave me some of the things I would need to start a boss fight later on.
Mithril ore can be refined in a dwarven forge. An energy crystal. Okay, I know I need that to power the dwarven forge. Obsidian flux. Huh. I'm not really sure how that works, but okay.
Anyways, I crafted more trank arrows on day 12 as I wanted to get a tame that could help me out with base expansions.
See if there's any Dodix available to tame. I'd like to tame a few just to expand the base here. Or tame a few? Tame one.
There was a level 55 fighting for its life, but I need something with a bit of a higher level.
I'm gonna need a high level.
I opened a probo drop that had a few extra trank arrows for me, and I spotted another Dodic, but it was even worse than the previous one. So I then went up on the side of this hill, which actually had a tiny cave inside of it.
Just a little cave. Okay.
Shortly after exiting the cave, the northern lights had started shining again, and they illuminated a path that led straight to what I was looking for.
Oh, that's what I'm talking about.
140 Dodic just like that. I started shooting it, and thanks to its poor pathfinding skills, it also got stuck just like the Anki, and I could knock it out without any major interruptions.
Hello?
Once it was unconscious, I turned around to find another blessing from the Arc Gods coming down from the sky right behind me. However, it didn't quite contain what I was hoping for.
A whole lot of nothing.
Back at base, I learned the saddle engram, and farmed a little bit of fiber and stone, and then finally crafted it. But before going back out, I also farmed a few Mayho berries with Perry, and when I climbed back up the mountain, a Ceratosaurus was causing trouble way too close to my tame.
Kentor's gonna kill it?
I helped out the Kentra by biting the Ceratosaurus tail off, and then I fed the sleeping Dodic. And while waiting for it to tame, I also watched as the Kentra took down a Saber, saving me the hassle. I of course had to reward this helpful Kentra by turning it into hide for my personal benefit. In other words, progress. After a bit more standing around, I made my way back home, and I repaired my crossbow and then went out into the forest on Perry to farm some more wood and thatch. I then returned back to the Green Obelisk to take a look at the boss tribute requirements once again.
I need to craft these gems to summon bosses. So I need to get artifacts. Alright, I think I'm just gonna focus on the monkey first because you know that's probably the easiest. Once I get this Dodic tamed, I'm gonna gear up and go caving for the first time.
While running back home, I remembered I should probably make cryopods before going in the cave, so I learned the engram. And that being said, I grabbed some obsidian from the top of this mountain before going back home for the night. I crafted up 3 storage boxes on day 13, and I then jumped down to the beach for hydration. Coming back around, I opened a blue drop that didn't really have much, but there was also a bunch of other drops around the area.
So many drops. Kinda like this.
And the purple drop I opened actually got me some of the stuff that I needed.
Ooh, Megatherium saddle? Stone structures. Design and sap. I'll take that. Any day.
Coming back home, I used the newly acquired stone structures to expand my actual base a little bit. And I also placed down the metal sign up front and, well...
Is this offensive? I don't care.
After placing down storage boxes in the new corner of my home, I noticed that my Dodic had finished taming. So I hopped on Kitten and ran up the mountain, where I then saddled it up and grabbed a little bit of obsidian, then whistled my Thyla and started rolling back to base.
Don't mind me just rolling on by.
And back in my base, I put the Dodic to use by smacking up rocks right inside my compound. I also crafted and placed the last missing ceiling, but looking at my base from the outside makes me want to upgrade it a little bit more, as it looks really basic right now.
I think I should do some upgrading here.
So I learned a few new structure engrams and then ran over to the forest to gather fiber, wood, and thatch, which I would then use to craft wooden ceilings, foundations, and sloped walls. Back home, I placed down the wooden foundations in front of my base and replaced the sign, of course. And I then finished the roof of the new house with sloped walls and ceilings. And I also placed 3 ceilings and a couple of pillars at the front of the house to add sort of a porch design.
Oh yeah, this is looking better already. Still gonna do a lot to it. Gonna have like a village house theme, I guess, for the space.
But I would have to expand the inside as well, as I would eventually need to place industrial equipment inside as well. So that being said, I picked up one of my windows and replaced it down with a double door that would lead into my industrial workspace.
Yeah, so I'm gonna expand this back here. I'll make this like my industrial area.
I placed down a few structures that I had left and then repaired my hatchet and went back to the forest for more resources. And once back from that farming adventure, I grabbed the stone from my Dodic and I crafted a bunch more stone foundations, which I placed out back of my base. And before going to get more stone, I got more wood because this is just never ending farming. Anyways, back at base, I made the last few foundations and a bunch of walls. I also finished the flooring, then placed the windows all around. I did place 2 double doors down as well for some easy access on each side of the base. On day 14, I crafted all the doors to fill in all the windows and double doors. I then made more sloped ceilings, which I then struggled a bit to place down.
There's a reason I don't build, dude. I'm not good at this.
But I got it down eventually, and out of nowhere, a wild fairy started tearing through my spikes.
Oh!
And to top it off, it was a level 140, meaning it would definitely break through my spikes and get in soon. So I quickly whistled my tames passive, and I started parking them inside the new part of my base. I also brought Baby Rex inside, but while placing the stone walls back down, I misplaced one of them, so I had to think fast. I made a wooden wall and placed it down temporarily to protect my tames. I then also grabbed some wood and stone, then crafted a stone one to replace the temporary wood wall. And using my Thyla, I got the fairy's attention again, and I let it off the cliff.
Dude, what is up with that?
I made a new spike wall and replaced the broken one.
That's a 140 fairy. I need to tame that, but it's nearly dead because it was bodying my spikes.
I let out all my tames again and replaced the walls with windows. And I made 3 more slope ceilings, placed them down, and I got back to farming wood and thatch by hand. I then crafted the last few ceilings and I made more wooden foundations. foundations. However, placing them down proved to be a challenge. Anyways, I finished the roof off and I placed down a few extra pillars at the front as well. And since foundations weren't working, I placed down a wooden ceiling as a substitute and I extended the porch to the side of the base as well. Later on, after a few more drop trees and structures crafted, I finished sealing the roof of the base off. And I also built a porch on the side. And I picked up a few pillars and spaced them out more as it didn't look quite right having pillars on every foundation and ceiling. On day 15, I crafted a bunch of quarter walls which I placed down as railings, making the whole porch look much nicer.
Yeah, these railings add quite a bit. Alright, I think that's in the building for now.
It was time to continue progressing by making a fabricator. I learned the engram and looked into the crafting requirements.
Cementing paste and spark powder. Oh, I remember seeing those beaver dams.
And as you all know, beavers are now my best friends on all of Ark as they really work hard for progress. My progress. So I hopped on Kitten and ventured out to the rivers in hopes of finding some unpaid beaver taxes. And I soon found my first giant beaver dam. I looked around it for a little bit before finding actually how to loot it.
Oh, I go in it.
But I had to be strategic about this as the water was filled with piranhas. So I parked Kitten at the entrance, blocking anything from getting in, and I started feasting. From this one beaver dam, I managed to get almost 700 paste and a few silica pearls. I also looted a small dam as well before heading back home.
Any other dams? Doesn't look like it.
I made my way back to base, then stored all of my freshly acquired progress in one of my storage boxes. I then grabbed some paste for the fabricator and put it in the smithy, but I got slightly distracted while trying to make spark powder. Alright, with that carno now taken care of, I learned the spark powder engram and started crafting some. And in the meantime, I smacked up a rock nearby for flint and I got enough for the spark powder to make the fabricator. So you already know, I crafted it and placed it in the corner of the new part of the house. I then grabbed some hiding oil to make gasoline in one of my forges. I then had another browse through the engram page, and I unlocked a few things like a simple pistol, long neck rifle, shotgun, and their respective ammos, as well as polymer, electronics, the generator, and other appliances. Moving on, using the obsidian that I farmed earlier, I started crafting hard polymer. And while that was being produced, I hopped on the back of Kitten and climbed back up the mountain that had lava flowing down from it, and I farmed a bit of crystal. And back at base, I grabbed the silica pearls that I got from the beavers, and I used that to make electronics for a generator, which I would then place down in the middle of my house. I prepared everything I need to make a cryo fridge and cryopods on the Kitten, and I went out to a drop to craft it all.
What? All this drop's coming down. Let me check on that 140 theory. Cause I need to tame it. Like, I'm gonna need it as a boss fighter.
I jumped down to where I led the theory off before, but I couldn't see anything.
Oh, looking like it's not down here now, though.
I did come across the cave behind the waterfall again, though, and this time I decided to actually go in and investigate a little bit.
Oh, this actually leads somewhere. Oh my god. There's an aberration part of this map.
It was right underneath me this whole time and I had no idea. But I didn't feel like going deeper from here as I had another task in mind, getting cryopods and a high level theory.
I don't know. High levels seem to be super prevalent on this map though. Shouldn't be too hard to find another. As I put my spyglass on a level 20.
Anyhow, I wanted to open this yellow drop, but before that, I had to do a little bit of pest control.
Structures, 1 cryofish, weapons, 4 cryopods. I'll take it.
I grabbed my stuff from out of the drop and returned back home. And now with the cryo fridge acquired, I wanted to go out and farm some metal before I would go on my spelunking adventure for my first artifact, which is what I planned to actually do a few days ago. So anyway, I placed down the artifact pedestal that I got from a drop and then got on my Anki, whistled Perry to follow me, and slowly made my way over to all the metal. I pulled through though, and I farmed up a bit of metal before coming back home and filling my forges. I then fixed my flak, my tools, and I got ready to leave for the first cave.
Alright, I'm gonna head out to a cave that I know of on the far side of the map.
I took care of a level 20 theory just outside my spikes so it wouldn't cause any trouble while I was gone. I then headed out. And on top of the mountain, I came across another berserker raptor which I needed to kill for the boss fight.
Oh, it's another one of these things.
I killed it and got an insane blueprint in return.
Oh, black helmet blueprint. That's kind of crazy.
While running back towards the cave, I came across an interesting looking structure, and when I entered, it actually teleported me somewhere.
What the? What? Did I just get teleported?
And I was on top of one of the floating islands that I previously thought were just for aesthetic purposes. So I stepped on the platform again, which thankfully teleported me back down. Anyhow, I climbed to the top of the mountain and I discovered another massive cave inside.
Is this a volcano? No, this is a huge cavern below that I'm not gonna mess with.
So I jumped all the way down into the valley and continued the journey. On day 17, I discovered a new area that looked really cool.
This area looks crazy.
More importantly, I was getting closer to the cave that I intended on exploring. I climbed across another mountain, and on the other side, I spotted a Carcharodontosaurus. Yeah, I still don't know how to say its name. Anyways, I jumped down and I actually found the entrance to the cave, so I went in. But inside, I quickly got swarmed by bats, so I had to use some evasive tactics to actually kill them.
Dude, these things are ripping through my thyla.
I also contracted mega rabies, so I had to chill out. I grabbed the raw meat and started force feeding my thyla to heal it back up. And I also crafted a sleeping bag just to be safe. Anyways, once the rabies were over and my thyla had healed up a little bit, I continued deeper into the cave only to find another wave of bats.
Oh my, it's level 290? Okay, I am underprepared for this cave. I can't do this right now.
And since my thyla was too weak to kill all the bats, I left the cave and returned back home, where I then cleaned out my inventory and I lit a campfire to cook some meat.
I think to get ready for that cave, I'm gonna need a stronger thyla.
I then grabbed my narcotics to trap and I made even more shanks before heading out to look for another thyla. On my way out, I opened the blue drop that actually had a ton of cooked meat jerky inside. But besides that, I ran all the way back to the redwoods and I soon spotted two thylas. The first one was a level 20 and the other was a level 50, so I continued looking around the whole redwoods. And after a bit more searching, I spotted a head peeking out from the side of one of the trees, and it was a level 95. Still not optimal, but better than the other two I found. However, my luck soon changed for the better when I spotted this in the distance.
Oh, whoa, I got everything to tame it.
So I took care of the local raptor population in a carno and I then constructed a trap. I lured the theory inside and locked it in. I pelted it full of tranks until it knocked out on day 18, and I then picked a few bushes in the area for mayho berries. After that, I ended an entire family of hyenodons, and one of which gave me an ascended treasure map. Anyways, focusing on the theory, I gave it some more narcotics. I then also gave it mayho berries, and while waiting for it to tame, I got aggroed by another wild theory that wandered over to me. Instead of fighting it though, I just let it away and it lost aggro. And for the rest of day 18, I just watched over the sleeping tickle chicken to make sure it didn't wake up or get messed with. I fed it some more narcotics on day 19, and I noticed the carno getting a little bit too close, so I hopped back on kitten and took care of it. And once the theory was being close to tamed, I jumped back down to it and noticed the trap got damaged while I was knocking it out, so I farmed some stone, wood, and thatch to repair it so I could pick it back up again. Anyways, soon after that, the theory did in fact tamed, and I named it its health and melee stat. I then cryoed it and learned the shovel engram, as I also wanted to find and dig up the treasure map I got. But first, I'd have to go back home, and on my way back home, I stopped by and waited for a yellow drop to fall down. And inside, I got a bunch of gas and basically nothing else. Anyways, finally, I'm back at the crib. I filled up my generator with the gas, and I threw out the theory to welcome it to its new home. I then repaired my crossbow, sorted out my inventory, and I crafted the shovel. I then used the math to see where the treasure was, and I headed over there on kitten. And the map actually led me back into the redwoods, where I then dug up the treasure cache, and inside, I got an insane pair of flak boots, as well as a chitin helmet blueprint. And with that little side quest out of the way, I came back home just as night fell upon the world. While looking through my stuff on day 20, I heard some noise outside, so I jumped over my spikes with kitten to chase down all the little troublemakers. And killing one of them made the other skedaddle, so I returned back inside to learn and craft a Therizino saddle. And my forges had also ran out of fuel by now, and they still had some uncooked metal inside, so I saddled it up and hopped on the Theory. I also whistled Perry to follow me, and I went out to the forest to gather a ton of wood in seconds. And soon both of my tames were almost encumbered, so I returned back home. I then filled and relit all of my forges. I also stored the rest of the wood and thatch in my storage boxes, and I had an intense staring contest with my floor until the end of the day. On day 21, I wanted to return to the redwoods again, this time to actually tame another thyla so I could breed it with kitten and get a stronger offspring that I could eventually take into the artifact cave. First things first though, I hopped on the back of Perry and ran out to the forest to gather more narco berries, which I then turned into narcotics back at my base. And while those were being produced, I crafted a few trank arrows and went out on my thyla to grab a couple of drops near the base. And while going over to the first one, I spotted this guy pretty close to home.
Ooh, 130? I need to tame that. So many things I gotta tame.
Anyhow, I opened the first drop and got some nice fur leggings and some flak boots.
That's not bad. I already got better boots.
The second drop was filled with wooden structures though. I did grab the behemoth gate though and despawn the rest.
Wooden behemoth gate, okay.
And I opened a purple drop that had a water tank. And before going home, I learned the water tank engram so I could bring irrigation over to the compound. I then crafted an intake and a tap, then jumped down to the beach just below and placed the tap down. I then climbed back up to place the water tank, but the irrigation was just out of reach of my house.
Oh, no, I need another tank.
Meaning I had to craft another one. So I made another one, slapped it down on the porch, and I made the tap on one of the pillars. With that little side quest done, I loaded on my crossbow with tranks and grabbed my taming trap. I then jumped on kitten and headed back out to the redwoods. And during my travel, I spotted yet another high level theory.
Whoa, I love the high levels on this map, dude.
And I also grabbed a yellow drop full of metal structures. Anyways, after I arrived to the redwoods, I looked around for a bit, but it looked rather dead and empty. That is, until I got jumped by a thyla.
Oh!
And it was also level 130, but it was a female, meaning it had to go.
If you're a male, you could have survived this. This is on you. You should have had balls.
I looked around the redwoods a little bit more until I spotted a yellow drop coming down not too far away in the snow.
Do otters spawn on this map? It'd be nice to have one of those. I want a kipper.
Once the drop landed, I opened it and got a decent Dodic saddle. In other words, nothing really useful though, so I returned to the Thyla search. And you know what's something that I haven't talked about in a little while? Kipper. I came across something really cool in the redwoods. A giant otter statue, as well as a bridge with other smaller otters on the pillars.
Oh my god. There's otters up here. Dude, they have a shrine to Kipper. Do otters spawn in here?
This seemed like a reasonable place for otters to spawn in, so I looked around to see if I could spot one, but apart from a few fish, it was pretty much empty. Anyhow, I continued the search and I also came across another berserk dino, this time a Carno. So of course, I started biting it, but I would soon regret doing so.
This thing hits hard. Oh no, no, no. There's a Microraptor. No, I'm cooked.
And Kitten started running around frantically as well, which didn't help at all. Somehow, I got out of the stun alive and I managed to get back on Kitten. I killed the Microraptor and then continued biting the Carno, but Kitten was starting to hurt really bad.
Run circles around it. I'm running circles around it.
But Kitten's health bar was basically non-existent anymore, so I quickly jumped on a small ledge where the Carno couldn't get me. And it was a really close call, as when I opened Kitten's inventory, I saw she only had 160 health left. That Carno bleed damage was really messing me up. I couldn't risk losing Kitten, so instead of fighting the Carno head on, I farmed up a few stone arrows and I started shooting it up from above. It kept moving around though, so I ran off the heal instead. And I spotted another defenseless parasaur, so I killed it. I then made more arrows and I force-fed Kitten some meat.
I don't want to go into the redwoods because there's Microraptors, and if I get Microraptored, I'm dead. No question.
Jumping back down, I started looking for the Berserk Carno, but I couldn't see it anywhere.
I know it didn't just dip. It literally glows blue, and I can't find it.
Seems like it really just pieced out of there because I couldn't find it anywhere. So I turned to the original task at hand, being a high-level male Thyla. And while running around through the forest, I nearly got pounced again.
Oh. Who are you? Identify yourself.
While I was too busy looking at the Thyla through the spyglass, a sneaky Pego came up behind me and yoinked my flak helmet. So I demoted both of the Pegos to hide status, and I also clapped the Thyla as it was a level 25 female. I still didn't feel safe with Kitten basically on life support, so I headed back home, where I then repaired my flak, replaced the saddle on my Dodic, and I learned the new bear trap engram, as I actually wanted to tame that level 130 Rex I saw earlier. Anyways, I grabbed a bunch of resources, crafted 4 stone dino gates, and I went out with Kitten to construct the trap nearby. I placed down the bear trap, waited for it to activate, and then ran up to the Rex to introduce myself.
Hello.
But since the Rex kept aggroing on literally everything around it except me, I returned back to the trap, picked it all up, and after placing it closer to the Rex, I went up to get its attention again.
Oh my god, there's so much stuff.
I helped it kill everything that moved, and it roared at me, meaning it noticed me, but then...
Come on.
Where are you going? I killed the Dilos and I started leading into the trap, but since it had the attention span of a goldfish, it decided to lose interest again.
Ain't no way. What are you eating, bro?
Finally, after the endless tomfoolery, I got it in the trap and sealed it with the last gate.
Can you get out? Oh. Cannot get up.
I unlocked the magnifying glass engram, then ran back home to craft one. And back at the Rex, I started shooting at it until I noticed a few raptors not too far away from me. So I paused the training process and took care of them. I kept shooting the Rex into day 23 until it fell asleep. Then I killed a Theory that was wandering around the area. And while waiting for the Rex to lose hunger, I opened a purple drop with a ring. And inside, I found a slightly better primitive crossbow. I then spotted yet another purple drop with a ring on one of the mountains. So I climbed up there to be greeted by a pack of raptors, one of which was a berserk raptor.
Oh, it's a berserk raptor.
Killing it dropped a really good crossbow blueprint, which compensated for the lack of loot inside the purple drop. Anyhow, I returned back to the Rex and I fed it some prime before going back to base. I then got a bit of fiber, crafted a new crossbow and a saddle for the Rex. And coming back, yet another purple drop with a ring landed right in front of the incautious Rex. And inside I found some cementing paste, shotgun shells, and a couple of water tanks. Anyway, soon the Rex woke up, so I picked up the trap and I had a look at its stats. I named it according to its health and melee and then brought it back home. That being said, I had a ton of spoiled meat in my inventory and I ran into the forest to farm narco berries with Perry. What I didn't expect though is to get jump scared by a literal mantis.
What? Since when do mantises spawn here, dude?
I quickly ran back to base, hopped on my Theory, and started swinging.
There's 2?
I took care of them both and I returned back to farm more berries. And this time I didn't get chased out by a mantis. This time a whole snake came out of nowhere.
What?
And since Perry was low, I had no other option but to jump down from the bridge and run back to my base from the beach. And I left Perry in the safety of my compound and returned back on my Theory to scout the area properly.
Alright, well, I'm gonna make sure nothing dangerous is over here before I get to farming again.
And the coast seemed clear, so I ran back home to swap back to Perry again. But when I actually wanted to cross the bridge, the basilisk appeared on top of it again.
What?
I have no idea how or what sort of black magic, but it got up there again. I got on my Rex on day 24, and I stood above the buried snake waiting for it to come out of the ground. I then dismounted, which made the basilisk unbury, and then I remounted and pushed it into the valley. I then jumped down to the beach, and I ran into the forest to find and kill it.
Where is that basilisk?
Just like that mysterious berserk carno in the redwoods, the basilisk pulled a Houdini and vanished in the thin air. So I finally returned back home to continue back on the narcotic grind.
And I finally farmed narco berries.
This time I got to farm up a bunch of berries, mostly without being disturbed. I killed the occasional compy squad, but no real threat approached me, so I returned back home, where I then distributed the narco berries into my mortar and pestles as you do, and then made them all into narcotics. And while those were being crafted, I farmed up a few more stone arrows that I then converted into tranks. I also grabbed the stone trap again, and I headed out to the redwoods to try and find a male thyla. And I waited for another purple drop to land, but it didn't have much to offer other than some cementing paste and chitin. Anyways, back at the redwoods, I ran around looking for thylas until the end of the day. On day 25, I came across another Kipper statue.
There's another Kipper statue.
This one looking even more majestic than the rest. Even better than that, I found exactly what I came here for.
Bang.
A level 140 male thylacolio. And I didn't waste any time and I started constructing the trap. And once it was ready, I got the attention of the thyla by shooting it with a trank. And it fell down into the valley just like Kitten did back on day 8. And it also started a fight with a wild dire bear, so I had to intervene. Anyways, once it was dead, I led the thyla back up into the trap and closed it. I then shot it a bunch of times and it went to sleep. I then farmed up a few more campfires and ran around starting to look for prime meat to tame while the thyla lost hunger.
Anything to kill for prime, bruh.
But I soon came across a couple of carnos which didn't give me a whole lot of prime meat, but I then spotted their baby running away, and killing that gave me more than enough prime meat. Anyways, back at the trap, I noticed the theory getting too comfortable next to the sleeping thyla, so I quickly put it back in its place before placing down my campfires to cook the prime meat. And after a sufficient amount of prime had cooked, I gave it all to the thyla and waited for it to tame.
Right on.
And on day 26, I picked up the trap, cryoed the new thyla, and ran back to base where I spotted a red drop on the beach just below. And inside, I found a bunch of metal structures, so I grabbed them all and returned back to my compound where I then threw out the new thyla and bred it with Kitten. And once they did their thing, I waited for the gestation timer, and when the baby popped out, I fed it and moved Kitten out of the way. I then renamed the baby Bat Killer.
Putting this out there. Bat killer.
Once a Bat Killer requested his imprint, I took him out on a walk and he got full 100% imprint.
I got the habit, Alright, once this thyla grows up, I'm gonna go level it, heal it up, and then I'm finally getting those artifacts.
So I stood around Bat Killer until he grew up to be an adult. I then grabbed Kitten's saddle and put it on her, and I ran down to the Metal Valley where I killed a couple of raptors. After that, I went up to the mountain to continue my killing spree. I was doing this for levels, and I took some time off to heal up on a rock a little bit before going down to the forest to kill even more innocent creatures. I also came across a Spino in a lake, and that would probably give me a ton of XP. So I aggroed it with my crossbow and then finished it off with Bat Killer. And as expected, it gave me 9 levels, which I put all into health, putting it up to 10k health. And seeing how effective killing Spinos was, I started looking on the rivers and lakes in hopes of finding another one or two. I continued the hunt on day 27, and I actually came across a Berserk Rex.
Oh my god. Berserk 130. Okay, this could be a stupid idea.
I most likely couldn't take it down, but I still ran up to check its health and how much damage it did per bite.
For level 135, dude. Of course.
I tried my best to run in a circle under the Rex while holding the magnifying glass out, but I just couldn't see it.
I can't see how much health it has. That'd be crazy kill, but there's no way I can kill that. The Berserk dinos are actually really strong.
Anyhow, I ran up to the red drop, and inside I found a few goodies for keeping, such as a Giga Saddle blueprint and Riot legging. But I had to swap those out for fur ones as I entered one of the colder biomes, and they were actually keeping me hot enough so I wasn't taking damage from the cold. I ran around the map for a little bit longer, and at one point I even hit the edge of the map, but then I got an idea.
Wait, what am I doing? I need to kill babies, dude.
So with that new plan in mind, I returned back to base where I crafted a couple of storage boxes, and I placed them down in the new part of the house. Alright, and now to start sacrificing babies in the name of progress, I first gotta get another Rex to breed with the other one that I have. So I grabbed my 4 dino gates, made another bear trap, and set out to look for a male one. During my hike around, I came across another Spino, so of course I shredded it with Bat Killer for more free XP. And besides that, I climbed up top of one of the mountains and searched for the high level male Rex, and it literally wandered into my field of view. So I started building the trap, but it got aggroed as I was working on it. I tried leading it right into the gap, but it seemed to have been too small for the Rex to actually fit. So I picked up one of the gates and placed it a little bit further back. And this time the Rex went right in with me. I then proceeded to lock it in and fill it up with trank arrows going into the end of the day. I carefully monitored its torpor until it knocked out on day 28. And once it was unconscious, I started looking for something made out of prime meat in the area. And I came across another cave looking thing inside of one of the mountains. So I headed in to check it out. And inside I found a dwarven forge, which is what I need for the boss requirements. bats.
Oh yeah, this is one of these dwarven forges.
Anyways, I exited the cave to return to the hunt for prime meat, and soon I found some in the form of a paracer.
Found my source of prime meat.
Alright, with prime meat now acquired, I tracked down the Rex and returned to feed it. I used the time to tame it to heal up Bat Killer as much as possible. I force fed it almost all the raw meat that I had, and then picked up the Rex trap and waited for it to finish taming.
Alright, this looks cursed, but whatever.
Yeah, this Rex definitely did not skip spine day. Anyways, eventually it woke up and I took a glance at its stats. I put it away into my pocket and returned back home where I threw it out next to my first Rex. And I named it according to its stats and then allowed the two to mate. One more thing I had to check off the to-do list though was get an Oviraptor so I could automate the egg collection process.
Does a man find an Oviraptor? Check the beach.
And as usual, I was correct as I was very quickly to come across one on the beach. I boloed it and shot it once, quickly realizing my mistake.
Ooh. Huh? Oh, I shot it with a stone arrow. My bad.
There wasn't much I could do about that right now, so I left it alone and continued looking for another one. Thankfully, it didn't take too long for another one to appear on my screen. However, it was stuck in the middle of a dino war.
Alright, well if this thing could get out of the carbodilo beef, I could tame it.
I helped out by killing everything involved in the fight and then chased down the Oviraptor with one of my bolas. I then pulled out my crossbow and aimed at its head and...
Oh my, are we...
After pulling that pro gamer move, I decided to try and find the first Oviraptor again. But as usual, I couldn't find it anywhere, and instead I found a level 145 right below my base.
I don't want a high level.
I did have 3 fertilized Rex eggs on me though, so I paused the breeding and settled for the level 145. I jumped back down into the valley on day 29, bullet it, and knocked it out. I then gave it one of the Rex eggs and stood over it waiting for it to eat it.
Alright, so is it gonna eat the egg?
Turns out, yes, it did in fact eat the egg, and it was also enough to tame it.
Ooh. Oh yeah.
I threw the little guy out my base, positioned him under my male and female Rex, and resumed the egg production. I grabbed some metal and I started crafting electronics that I would need for one air conditioner. I made some hard polymer as well, and soon the first AC was made. So I placed it next to my porch and I moved my other tames out of the way. I then threw out the egg to see if it would be enough to incubate, but it was too cold, meaning I'd have to craft more ACs.
I don't really know where to get silica pearls on this map. I'm gonna go back and loot that beaver dam, that huge one. It should be respawned by now. Hopefully I can get some from there.
I ran over to the river that had the dam, killed a Spino, and saw the dam had indeed respawned. So I went inside, looted all the paste and pearls, then despawned the rest and dipped. These beavers gotta stop getting angry with me when I come to collect my mandatory tax anyway. But it seems the beavers aren't the only troublemakers, as when I opened another beaver dam, I alerted a couple of Kentros.
What's your problem?
Back at base, I made 15 more electronics, but I was a little bit short on the obsidian department of things. So I got back on my Thyla and I ventured up to the nearby mountain to gather some real quick. And I took care of a saber-tooth gang and then smacked up an obsidian node. Using that, I crafted hard polymer and the air conditioner. I then placed it next to the first one and threw out the egg again.
Where are the... Oh, no, they're incubating.
So I threw out all 3 eggs to hatch them, but then they disappeared. At first I thought I was schizophrenic, but then I realized it was just my Oviraptor.
What? He's picking up my eggs from over there? Dude.
So I had to move the hatchery to the other side of my base. I threw the eggs out again and waited for them to incubate. And you already know what happens once they're all hatched. Progress, of course.
Name a Lystra too, with that double XP for my dinos.
I picked some Meho berries with Perry, then hopped on Bat Killer. On day 30, I returned to the beach where I knew I could find a ton of Lystros. But of course, the first 2 were really high level, which wasn't optimal right now. I killed one of them, which upset the third one that I didn't see before.
My bad.
There were plenty of Lystros to choose from though, so I ran further down the beach and fed a random level 60. And after the second feed, it was mine, so I cryoed it and returned back home. I threw it out next to my air conditioners and brought my Thyla over, and I waited by my Rexes for a few more eggs. I then threw them out next to the ACs and waited for the babies to hatch. And with the XP buff active, I converted them into prime meat and hide, and I got 5 levels as well. Now I felt confident enough to being able to take down the dangers of the cave, so I hopped on Bat Killer and headed out. And on my way over, I opened the blue drop, which had some narcotics, 2 artifact pedestals, and arrows for me. Also, a yellow drop supplied me with some more silica pearls. Anyways, I made it back to the cave once again and I headed in. Just like last time, I immediately got attacked by bats and some other nasties. So instead of fighting everything at once, I exited the cave and took care of them outside. I also then healed up my Thyla to max HP before going back in. I really took my time in there as there was no need to rush. I fought all the bats in small groups and I healed between each fight. Then I jumped down deeper into the cave where I had to take care of a few more bats, but one of them managed to infect me with rabies. My adventure soon came to an end though, as there was only 2 ways I could continue deeper into the cave, and unfortunately my Thyla was too fat to fit through either one.
Hopefully that's not where I have to go. Oh, no way. I actually need a crowd fridge. Dang it, dude. This cave's taking me forever to get through.
And just outside the cave, I had a big surprise waiting for me.
What? Oh, 85? Hold up. That could be a good tame.
Taming that Giga would allow me to take down Berserk Dinos with ease, including that level 135 Rex I came across earlier. Anyways, on my way back home, I opened up a yellow drop which had a scuba tank for me and a few useless saddles. And back at base, I grabbed all the chitin and hide I got in the cave and stored it away for later use. I then picked up my cryo fridge, then crafted another generator. I also ran down the beach for a sip of water before heading back out to the cave again, hopefully for the last time. And on my way over, I came across another Spino, also known as free XP. Anyways, back inside the cave, the horde of bats have luckily yet to respawn. So I jumped back down and took care of a few Arrhenios and a scorpion. I then proceeded to lodge myself into the opening that bat killer couldn't fit through, and I started biting and shooting at whatever was in my way. Jumping off the Thyla, I noticed the artifact was closer than I thought it would be.
Oh, the artifact's right there.
Turns out I didn't need the cryo fridge after all. Better yet, I actually found a way to squeeze through the gap with my Thyla somehow.
Boy, I just fit.
Anyways, inside the artifact room, I had to fight through a small army of Meganoras, a snake, and an Arthro. But once they were all taken care of, I force-fed a bit of meat to Bat Killer, and I grabbed the artifact of the pack. I soon realized there was also another artifact inside this cave, so I went through the only unexplored tunnel, and I managed to get Mega Rabies again while fighting my way through it. On day 32, I fought through the rest of the tunnel, which led me to the second artifact of this cave, the artifact of the Brute.
Oh yeah, finally got my 2 artifacts.
With the 2 artifacts secured, I exited the cave, and I noticed a Rex in the distance that was alpha boosted.
The Rex has an alpha boost.
And sure enough, there was a Berserk Raptor near it, and apparently it gives the boost like an alpha. Anyway, once the Raptor was done tearing through an innocent parasaur, it ran straight at me and got the beating it deserved. I made it back home in one piece, and I grabbed all the chitin I got from the bugs again and stored it away. I also repaired my flak, and I did a bit of redecorating.
My artifacts inside so I can admire them more.
I displayed my freshly acquired artifacts, repaired my crossbow, and grabbed narcotics, and I made some trank arrows. And while those finished crafting, I hopped back on Perry and ran out into the forest to gather more narco berries, as I had a ton of spoiled meat left over that I could turn into more narcotics. And while harvesting the bushes, I noticed an Arthro trying to be sneaky nearby, so I quickly ran back home and got on my Theory to deal with it. And I continued getting berries with my Theory, and I also noticed that there was another Arthro and a snake waiting for me up ahead. Anyways, back at base, I deposited all the narco berries into my mortar and pestles, made more narcotics, and I also went out to farm a bunch more arrows, which I then, of course, turned into tranks, as taming that Giga would probably consume most of my arrows. On day 33, I crafted more tranks, and I even farmed more berries. At the end of that farming session, I was left with 278 tranks, which should be more than enough to knock out that level 85 Giga. But to trap it though, I also had to craft a few new gates, as the stone ones wouldn't cut it.
Gonna need some metal gates to tame this Giga.
I grabbed the cementing paste from my fabricator, and I made all 4 of the gates plus another bear trap. I waited for the rest of the narcotics to finish crafting before heading into the engram page again to learn the Giga Saddle engram.
I think I've got everything to tame this guy.
That being said, I hopped on the back of Bat Killer and headed out to find that Giga again. On day 34, I finally made it out to the plateau again, but looking around, I couldn't see the giant lizard anywhere.
Yeah, so where's the Giga?
I even circled the mountain to see if it had just wandered off really far, but no, it was completely gone.
The Giga, bro. I was so excited to tame that. That's so lame.
As much as this map just loves giving out high level dinos, it also likes despawning them whenever I leave for just a little bit.
Anyway, well, since I can't tame that Giga, because it's not there, time to get back on boss fighting track.
I made it back home as the sun started to rise, and I looked inside one of my storage boxes where I found this.
Dude, I had a Giga saddle blueprint and everything. Bruh, I'm actually really annoyed I'm not able to tame that.
Anyhow, I had to focus on the boss fight that was slowly but surely coming up. Firstly, I wanted to take down the Megapithecus, as it was probably the easiest boss from the bunch. I already had the 2 breeder Rexes producing eggs for me this whole time, so I grabbed a couple of them and threw them out next to the air conditioners. I then got on Bat Killer and went around the area killing various dinos for raw meat so I could actually feed the babies once they hatch. I then came back home, waited for the eggs to incubate, and then I checked the stats on the newborns.
Oh, bad stats. Yep. Sorry about that one.
I unclaimed both of them and did what had to be done, a reroll. I grabbed 3 eggs this time, threw them out to incubate, and I waited. The first egg actually delivered twins, but once again, not one of the Rexes were good.
All bad, bruh.
They say that the 3rd time is the charm, so I tried again and threw out another 3 eggs. They hatched, and I checked out their stats, and I finally got at least 1 good baby Rex.
That's a good move.
Unfortunately for the other 2 though, they didn't make it. I renamed the chosen baby to Perfect F, and I moved the old female out of the way so I would only get perfect babies from now on.
Alright, I think I'm need Gonna need to expand my real estate once again.
I repaired the last few damaged spikes I had and then picked them all up. I also picked up my spikes on day 35, and I ran around the area for a little bit, making a rough estimate of how big I wanted my real estate to actually be. I then started replacing the spikes at the edge of the cliff that I had on my base. And I also remembered I had a wooden behemoth gate somewhere, so I ran back inside to grab it. And I placed it down along with the rest of the spikes, and I crafted a bunch more, then connected to the other edge. And just like that, I once again pushed my land outwards without any real expense. And I had a ton more space to work with, which I was definitely going to need for this giant Rex group. Anyways, while waiting for the Rex to grow up, I noticed a drop coming down in the distance.
Purple drop on the ring. You got me.
And without any hesitation, I jumped on my Thyla and ran over to check it out. After opening it though, I felt like this map was writing the joke itself.
Got the jar of saddle on a map with no flyers. Nice.
Anyways, I returned back home, and after a bit of waiting around, the Rex had finally fully grown up. So I saddled it up and moved it next to the male. I then grabbed all the old eggs from the Oviraptor and I stored them away in my mortar and pestle for the time being. I really need to make a fridge. It's a weird place to put eggs. Anyways, I enabled mating on the new Rexes and I waited for the first good egg to drop. And once it did, I brought it over to hatch and I prayed for it to be a perfect male with a good HP stat. And when it hatched, I checked its stat, and let's just say it was time for someone else to start praying for this baby. And it also wasn't the last baby that would meet the same fate. I threw out another egg that hatched near the end of the day. It did have good stats, but it was another female. On day 36, I imprinted the new female and named it Boss, and I fed it. Anyways, the nights were getting really cold apparently, as the eggs I threw out during the nighttime were no longer incubated. So I ran inside to craft another air conditioner, that way I could keep raising my Rex army regardless of the time of day. And now with 3 ACs, the egg hatched and it delivered twins. Unfortunately for both of them though, their stats were not cutting it. I bet my Thyla was not having a great time keeping his stomach full, as more babies failed to meet the basic requirements of not sucking. Anyways, I threw out 2 eggs this time, and once they actually hatched, I finally got lucky.
Triplets.
Oh, perfect male. 2 of the triplets were perfect males, and one of them was a female. And if you're wondering what happened to the other baby, let's just say it met its makers. I then renamed and imprinted all 3 of the Rexes, then moved my old male out of the way.
First imprinted Rex raised. Wonder what stats we can get on this bad boy.
I took it out for a short killing spree in the area just to test it out, as well as to get some raw meat for the other Rexes. I killed a couple of sabers and then went after a female which tried to pull a magic trick on me.
That pig just disappeared, bro.
Having seen enough though, I brought the Rex back home to heal, and I fed the younglings, and I also watched them grow until the end of the day. They all grew up on day 37, so I saddled one of the males up and moved it next to the perfect female. And as you can hear, the cold from this map was really starting to get to me.
My God.
Anyways, today I wanted to get the last artifact out of the way for the monkey boss. I enabled mating on my Rexes, crafted some stone arrows, and I headed out with Batkiller. I found a blue drop with a ring on the beach while running around, so I opened it and got a magnifying glass. The absolute peak of art technology. Anyways, I also harvested a beach whale, which got me a boss tribute.
Huh, that's cool.
Besides that though, I discovered the cave entrance that was located directly on the beach a bit further up to the north.
Oh yeah, this gotta be it.
The first part of the cave was a harmless tunnel, but it soon split into 2.
Okay, it's really hot in here. Oh, that's a dead end. Okay.
And going the other way, it looked like I would have to continue on foot.
Oh my, are you serious?
So I loaded on my crossbow and went inside, but it looked a little bit dead. There were no creatures in sight, literally.
Oh, floor spider.
I didn't want to go any further though and risk losing all of my stuff, so I turned around to leave and grab a cryo fridge.
I bet this cave was designed to not have people use cryopods, but screw you, I don't care, I'm using them.
I bet that's not gonna come back to bite me later though, surely. Anyways, it wasn't awfully far from home either, so I ran back and grabbed my generator and gas. And soon enough, I was back at the cave, so I went down to the choke point, where I then placed my cryo fridge and generator down inside the cave. And while waiting for the cooldown, I pieced out of there due to the immense heat. But I found a spot inside where somehow I wasn't even hot.
I can chill right here.
Anyways, a few minutes later, I cryoed my Thyla and tried throwing it out inside the cave.
What? Can't use here.
And the previously floor spiders have now turned into normal spiders. So I packed up my things and left. I gotta revise my plan a little bit.
So what I need is a shotgun. Okay. Noted. Written down. Whatever.
Anyways, I replaced my structures down outside the cave and waited for the cooldown, threw out my Thyla and went home. And before the end of the day, I assembled a new breeding area with the boss Rexes. And on day 38, I brought the Oviraptor and perfect female over and enabled mating on them.
Alright, I want to make up a little hatching platform area here.
And looking into my dodeck, I was almost all out of stone. So I rolled around my compound, smacking up all the rocks in sight. And after that, I collected some thatch, then crafted a few stone foundations and placed them down in front of my base. I chopped down a couple of trees, grabbed the stone, and crafted the 6 foundations, where I then finished the 4x4 platform.
Wait, is my generator, what's the range on this guy? Oh yeah. I'll just throw the ACs over.
I picked up the air conditioners and placed them on the corner of the platform, and I returned to the forest one more time to collect fiber, wood, and thatch so I could craft ramps and place them around the foundation. And now, with the platform finished, I rewarded myself by going out to a nearby drop, but the art gods had different plans.
Oh, it's gone.
Looking into my Oviraptor, there were quite a few eggs waiting for me inside, so I grabbed one of the Rexes and went out to kill a few things for meat so I could start mass hatching my army.
Okay, now that I got some meat, let's hatch up some Rexes here.
I grabbed and threw out 5 eggs, then ran down the beach to open a blue drop. But the contents were so bad, however, I didn't even bother despawning them. Anyways, once all the eggs had hatched, I renamed them all to Boss and I fed them.
Cooked fish meat? I can do that.
Anyways, I then got on my Thyla and went out for a swim just to get a bit of fish meat. But I had to fight a whole group of Megalodons, but as soon as one of them died, I got a bite of fish meat and returned back home to cook it to feed a baby Rex for imprinting.
Okay, got all these guys imprinted. Need some more food. That's not food.
With the Rexes now growing, I got on my Thyla and ventured over to the green obelisk so I could see what exactly I would need to start the Megapithecus boss fight.
There was Xenoclaws, Megalania Toxin, Megalodon Teeth, Spinosaurus, Thylaclaw. I'm gonna start farming up these tributes here.
I already had 4 out of the 10 Megalodon teeth from the little side quest I had earlier, so I decided to go back and check those off the list first by going back and paying a visit to those sharks again.
Alright, got the teeth.
Back at base on day 39, I'd crafted up a storage box specifically for boss tributes. And I grabbed all the tributes that I had lying around and I placed them in the storage box next to my other ones.
Alright, looks like I need 4 Thericlaws, 8 Thylaclaws. Do I have any Spinosaurus?
Surprisingly enough though, I didn't have the Spinosaurus even though I had killed a few already.
No. Looks like I need to farm 10 Spinosaurus. Okay, that's easily doable. And then I also need Megalania Toxin. Not sure where they spawn yet though on this map.
Before committing to the tribute grind though, I opened up a purple drop near my base and inside I found an interesting combination of loot.
Huh.
Anyways, my first stop was at the Redwood.
Alright, I need to kill 4 Thylas.
As a bonus, I found my first Spino inside the Redwoods, so I took it down and claimed my first sale. While running around frantically though, it also led me to a cave that I'm yet to explore.
Cave?
I hoped I could find Megalania inside, but that's not what really happened.
Oh, is it just a pass-through?
Instead, I found a Berserker Raptor right out the other exit.
Ooh, Berserk Raptor. Need to kill this.
After taking care of it, I returned back down to the Redwoods, and I soon came across the first Thyla.
Ah, hello.
And another one was soon found after.
There's one.
Instead of getting pounced though, I shot it with my crossbow to get it off the tree and I proceeded to clap it.
Come on, 2 more Thylas. That's all I'm asking for.
Instead, I ran straight into another Spino, not complaining though. I need all the sales I can get right now, so I packed it up and collected sale number 2. And I found another Thyla right after that, followed by the last one a bit later.
Gotcha. You're not getting away either.
Alright, and now with the Thylaclaws checked off the list, I moved on to the Thericlaws and Spinosaurus. And while roaming around, I came across this really cool area.
This place looks so cool. I should have built my base in here. What am I doing?
And the view from there was absolutely stunning as well.
It's crazy how like one dude can build a better map than Wildcard.
Anyhow, back to the tribute hunt. I can't get distracted. I found a level 150 Theory and claimed this claws as mine. And I also ran into a Berserk Raptor that I killed before returning back home. I was running low on storage space again, so I decided to farm up a couple more storage boxes. All the Rexes had also grown up while I was gone, so I moved them all to the side and I grabbed a bit of raw metal to craft a feeding trough because feeding all my dinos manually was no longer optimal. I made the feeding trough on day 40 though, and I placed it under my Rex army. I then transferred all the raw meat from my Thyla I had over to it.
There we go.
Now that my dinos weren't constantly starving, I could get back to raising even more Rexes. I grabbed 5 more eggs, threw them out on the platform, but it wasn't incubating for some reason.
Oh, no. I need another AC, man.
But of course, I was missing polymer as usual.
I'm still so poor, dude. Day 40 and I'm still pretty much broke.
So I hopped back on my Thyla and I climbed back up the mountain to farm some obsidian. But I also ran into another Berserker Raptor, which killing gave me a nice pair of flak leggings.
Ooh, good black leggings. Oh yeah.
Besides that, I got the obsidian, turned it into polymer, and I made the 4th air conditioner, which I placed down and then threw out all the eggs. And of course, you already know, once they were all hatched, I renamed them the boss, fed them, and started imprinting them. However, one of them had a bit of a special request that I couldn't complete.
Simple kibble? Oh, I'm gonna have to put that Rex down.
I imprinted the other Rex though, then said goodbye to the needy one.
Sorry, bro. Shouldn't have wanted simple kibble.
Anyhow, it was time to go back to the tribute grind while my new Rexes grew up. Megalania could spawn close to the lava biomes, and there was literally one right next to my base. So I ran over there to see if I could find some. But I didn't see any, so instead I returned back home, fed the baby Rexes, and I went out to continue hunting Spinos.
8 more Spinosaurus.
Not to give myself credit though, but I may have figured out how to bunny hop on a Thyla.
Dude, jumping and sprinting on Thyla's such a crazy quick way to get around.
I did come across one Spino at the big lake, but more importantly, I stumbled upon the Berserk Rex again. So I pulled out my magnifying glass and tried to see its health again.
87,000. Bruh. I don't know how I'm gonna kill that.
Just up the hill, I came across 2 Berserk Raptors, which I could definitely take down though. So I started off with the lower level first. I brought it away from all the other creatures and started biting at it. But since it could have hit me and it was getting low, it decided to peace out and leave me to fight the normal alpha boosted Raptors. And by the time I was done with them, my Thyla was actually pretty low on health. So I also decided to back down for a bit and heal. But the Raptor showed up again, and this time I didn't let it slide so easily.
Come here. Come on. No. You're not running. You're not running. You came back.
And now with the first one dead, I also came over to the level 135 Berserk Raptor, and it had quite a bit more health.
31,000? What?
And the second Raptor had also managed to get stuck on the same rock as the first one. So I broke this Rex's ankles and I healed up a little bit more before the Raptor found its way to me again.
Okay, I got it.
And this Raptor gave me something useful for once.
Hold up, I could use this shotgun. I can use it for that cave. Oh, clutch kill, dude.
I returned home on day 41, and before trying to return back to the lava cave, I wanted to raise another batch of my Rexes so that they would heal up for the boss fight while I was out and about. But before that, I wanted to go get some ammo for my new shotgun, starting with spark powder. I got on my Anki and went out to get some.
Man, this is slow. Playing this map has really made me appreciate flyers.
After that little farming session, I made an extra 2 mortar and pestles and I queued the spark powder up. However, I also had to restock on me if I wanted to bring another batch of boss Rexes into the world.
Can't feed them, don't breed them. Goes for arcane real life.
I got on Bat Killer and I ran up to the nearby mountain and killed anything that I could find. Well, almost anything.
Oh, I'm not fighting a Kentro.
Not by myself, at least. I waited until it was low and then picked it off along with the saber. Anyhow, with the trough now filled with food again, I threw out 6 eggs and started raising them once they hatched. And luckily, none of them were extra needy and I could imprint all 6 of them. Day 42 started off with possibly the worst red drop I've ever opened.
I don't need any of that.
Following that sad excuse of a drop, I wanted to heal my Thyla back up and gather raw meat at the same time. Meaning here is an epic dino killing montage, which shortly got interrupted by a similarly useless yellow drop, but I returned to killing right away. Alright, now once my thirst for blood was satisfied, I returned back home to heal up Bat Killer a bit more and prepare to go back into the lava cave again.
I'm gonna start crafting up some bullets and go get me this artifact.
I filled up my smithy with the gunpowder that was being produced while I was gone, and I made a bunch of simple bullets. And when it came time to actually making shotgun shells though, I ran into a slight setback.
Oh, I'm about to be out of metal. Yikes. Probably going on a little metal run before I head out to that cave. Dude, metal runs are so annoying with the flyers.
But it had to be done, so I started waddling over to the metal nodes with the Anki. However, my metal farming area got compromised by an uninvited guest, so I had to negotiate. And by negotiate, I mean use a lethal force against my guest.
Alright, time to test this shotgun.
It indeed works as intended. Anyways, I farmed a lot of nodes around, which quickly filled up Perry, and once the Anki was near encumbered, I brought them both back home and split all the metal into the forges. I also had to refuel them with wood, so I ran out into the forest with my Thyla. But before chopping down any trees, I opened a red drop, and inside I found this.
Ooh, pump shotgun? 2 industrial grills? W drop, dude.
It definitely made up for the lack of loot from the first red drop that I opened earlier on today.
I think I'm honestly gonna use the normal shotgun. I think it's just gonna do more damage.
Anyways, back at base, I demolished one of the industrial cookers, which got me a decent amount of metal, paste, and polymer. And before the end of the day, I also used my theory to get the wood for my forges finally. And on day 43, I once again felt prepared to return back to the cave.
Alright, finally go cop this artifact, dude. I'm gonna cop that red drop on the way as well.
It didn't give me anything I desperately needed though, but I grabbed the polymer, the stews, and the medical brews just in case.
Might actually need that.
Shortly after that, I arrived to the cave again. I ventured in and left my Thyla at a safe spot and went in with my shotgun. And almost immediately, I got attacked by a spider and a bat. And my first shot somehow didn't register at all, and the second one didn't even phase the spider.
Okay, so why did my first shot not register? Okay.
The shotgun wasn't too effective, but I could kill them at the choke point with my Thyla.
Can I just like lead stuff to the edge here?
This strat worked with the few creatures close to the choke point. I brought them all over and killed them with Bat Killer, and then proceeded further into the cave where I shot at what appeared to be the last bat stuck in the wall.
Got it. Oh, it's not hot right here.
However, moving forward, I didn't notice this giant hole in the way, and I jumped down a bit too early to make it across, and I ended up plummeting straight into lava.
Oh my god, dude, I didn't see that hole in the ground.
But remember guys, it's always important to stay positive.
Oh, I made it 43 days without dying. 42, I guess.
Anyways, back at base, I crafted some more new shotgun shells. I then grabbed a crossbow and learned the grapples engram. And after getting fiber with my theory, I made 19 grapples, which should hopefully be enough to get my body back from inside the cave. Oh, and I also crafted a new set of flak armor and I made 3 canteens. I then crafted a new Thyla saddle, put it on the back of Kitten, and before running back to the cave, I opened up a yellow drop just below my base. And it surprised me in a way that I didn't expect it to.
Oh my god, that scared me. Pego jump scare through the drop.
I, of course, killed the little rascal before rushing back to the cave to get my stuff.
I just realized to not bring another weapon. Praying nothing respawned, dude.
That killer had also mysteriously disappeared, but knowing this game, he's most likely just chilling under the map.
And my body's under the map, too, dude. I could easily grapple my body. So stupid I have to do stuff like this.
Since this game loves dropping my stuff and tames under the mesh, I had to resort to using dark magic to grab my gear. But also, Backkiller was all the way up at the top of the surface of the cave. This is really weird.
So stupid, bro.
So anyways, I went back inside the cave again and Kitten had also vanished by now.
No way. The other Thylon went under the map.
It also teleported her up to the surface, so I stuffed them in a cryopod. After that short sequence of various shenanigans, I returned back home to revise my plan a little bit.
I'm gonna try again because I found a little spot in the cave where I think I can throw a cryopod out.
Once back at the cave, I put on my ghillie hat to try and cool down a bit, and I made it over to the little spot where it wasn't scorching hot. I then killed an Aranio, then placed down my cryo fridge and generator. And while waiting for the absurdly long cooldown, I went back and cryoed my Thyla. Then once the cooldown was up, I pressed left click and...
Oh, whatever.
So I had to continue on foot. But looking at the levels of creatures in this cave though, I quickly changed my mind.
Are we 90? How are you supposed to do this cave, dude?
This cave had defeated me, for now at least. I just didn't have the gear to kill the things inside there, and there was no way for me to get my Thylas in either. So I placed down my cryo fridge back outside, waited for a year, then threw out Backkiller and ran back home.
So I really need to get that last artifact. I need a better weapon to take down the bats. Because this shotgun's good, but it's not enough, sadly. I think I'm gonna do some drop hunting, I guess, and see what I can pull. Maybe we can even find some berserk dinos and kill them.
So I started day 45 off with just that, opening drops. The first yellow drop got me a better flak chest piece and another AC unit, which I then placed down at the hatchery before going back out for more drops. And while running around, I got an idea.
Thyla is near full health. I think I might try and kill that Berserk Rex, the 135. I can just bleed it to death.
And killing it could potentially give me some really good loot. Instead of a Rex though, I ran into a Berserk Carno while I was going towards a red drop.
Red drop's still up here though? Really? Is that red drop actually gone?
So I returned back to the Carno and I bit at it, but it wasn't actually bleeding from my attacks. However, I could still outsmart it going up on a ledge where I could hit it and it couldn't bite me back.
What about right here?
It's not that the Carno just couldn't hit me, it was just trying its best to pathfind to me, leading it to run around frantically, allowing me to clap it.
Got it.
Unfortunately though, I didn't get anything valuable from it, so I moved on and continued looking for the Rex. And while traveling through the snow, I opened up a yellow drop that got me a few silica pearls, and more importantly, I came across a Spino and I dropped it for its sale. And shortly after that, I arrived at the first cave, and in front of which another Giga had spawned.
Bruh, I don't want a level 60.
After wandering around for a bit longer, I finally spotted the Berserk Rex through my spyglass smiling back at me.
Gotcha.
But since bleeding it to death wasn't an option, I had to try and do the same thing I did with the Carno. I climbed up on top of the mountainside and I started biting at the Rex.
Oh yeah.
But then the Rex actually used its brain and just walked off when it realized that it couldn't get to me. So I used the opportunity to kill the raptors under me, and then I went to grab its attention again.
Dude, I fell. Oh, it can't hit me. Clutch spot.
But it just kept wandering off, and I couldn't even fight it head on as it dealt a ton of damage each bite. So I kept chasing it, shooting it with my shotgun, and biting it from the ledge. But my Thyla was getting really low from the few hits the Rex actually managed to slip onto me. So I switched into defense mode. I stayed on the ledge and slowly healed up my Thyla while shooting at the Rex, and biting it whenever it got too close. Finally, once it was really bloody, I somehow managed to get it stuck while trying to bite me, and I could get a load of free shots in. On day 46, the Rex finally dropped dead, and I got probably the worst loot I could have gotten.
All that for Cackle Ethereum saddle, dude. Oh my.
Disappointed, I returned back home to clear my inventory.
I think it's time to invest in a fridge.
I looked around and grabbed everything that I could put in the fridge, including old Rex eggs. And speaking of, I checked out my Oviraptor and seen that it had collected a decent amount of eggs while I was gone. So I positioned one of my Rexes in front of the hatchery and then jumped down to get my Lystro.
I forgot to name it. Cody.
I whistled Cody over to the platform, then threw out a bunch of Rex eggs. And once they hatched, I quickly turned them into XP, and I actually got a bunch of levels.
Get the 25k HP and then melee. Melees. Ugh. Ugh. That ain't too hot.
Yeah, I could easily get the HP up to 25k on each Rex, however the melee stats suffered quite a bit. Days 47 through 49 were all baby raising. Wait, did I say raising? I meant killing. I power leveled my boss Rexes like there was no tomorrow. And it's all in the name of progress, of course, so I don't feel bad about it at all. On day 50, I checked what to see the other tributes that I had to get for the Megapithecus boss fight were, and apart from the artifacts, of course.
Spinosaurus and Megalania toxins still.
I ran up to the burnt rocky area in the lava river in hopes a Megalania had spawned, but the place looked completely dead. I then did a lap around the map, mostly looking around the rivers and lakes, but I didn't see a single Spino. And looking out from a beach, I noticed an island not too far away that I'm yet to explore.
Can I go to that island?
I arrived at the island and I first thought it was just an abandoned fortress type thing, but I soon found out that I was actually not alone here.
This looks like there's supposed to be something else here. Who's that?
Out of pure panic, I climbed on top of the roof.
Is that an NPC?
NPC or not, he was definitely not friendly, so I had to bring the fight to him.
He wants beef, so I'm gonna give it to him.
I took care of a few of his wolves, and then he fell down and got stuck between the castle and a house. So I jumped down in and finished him off.
He's dead.
A dwarven pack leader. After killing him, I tried to loot him and harvest his corpse, but neither of them seemed to work, so his body kinda just stayed there. Anyways, I swam back to the mainland and I checked the lava river once more to see if anything had spawned, and I made sure to check really thoroughly.
Oh my god.
There were still many things on this map and I'm yet to see, and one of which is this weird glowing cave entrance.
What's this?
I came closer and it opened up right before me.
What? Nope. Not going in there.
I didn't let curiosity get the best of me though, and I instead continued my search for tributes. But instead of Spinos or Megalania, I came across a Berserk Trike.
Berserk Trike? Didn't know those could spawn.
I've already taken down a Carno and a Rex, so I didn't consider this that much of a threat. I ran around it biting its tail until it died.
A bunch of junk.
While running around on day 51, I got an idea of how I could get an artifact from that lava cave.
Alright, so I actually got an idea, and that is you had to set a ghillie and bug repellent and just try and sneak my way through the cave and have my shotgun as a last resort. I think it could work.
Hunting the drops and killing berserks didn't give me good gear either, so I really didn't have a different choice. So that being said, I returned back home and unlocked ghillie engrams. However, I was missing a key resource.
Organic polymer.
I'd probably just kill a few penguins to get it, but before going out to look for those, I wanted to set up crop plots so I could actually make bug repellent. I placed down my industrial cooker thinking that's where I could make it, but I quickly realized that was unnecessary.
Oh, I had to make it in a chemistry bin. Citronol and rock.
First things first, the crop plots. I grabbed the necessary resources and got a bit of fiber with my theory and then made 12 crop plots in total, which I then placed down next to my porch. But I also had to get fertilizer for them, and getting that is actually nerfed in ASA. Fortunately though, I already had a toilet crafted, so I placed it down and I also brought out a campfire to stand on and jump on to lose stamina quicker, until I realized that the toilet worked even better.
Oh, I sit on the toilet. Stand on the toilet.
After I was done with my business, I fertilized all my crop plots and I went out to the forest on Perry to get the crop seeds. And back home, I seeded up all the crop plots with the various seeds before the end of the day. On day 52, I went out to look for penguins, and while jumping down into a lake, I noticed a Spino, so I grabbed its tail and continued into the snowy part of the map.
Should've brought fur. Idiot, it's cold here.
Instead of penguins though, I found another one of those castles with dwarves in them.
I don't understand the point of them. They don't drop loot or anything.
I killed the dwarven leader and I moved on, and soon enough I came across a pond where I finally spotted the first Karaku. My Thyla wasn't the best at gathering the polymer though, so I farmed up 3 wooden clubs instead, and I used those to harvest the polymer that I would need.
Hey, you're not allowed to fight back, bruh. This is genocide, not a war. Okay, that was a crazy sentence.
I already had plenty of hide with me, so I grabbed a little bit of fiber and crafted 2 sets of ghillie. And shortly after that, I drew my attention towards a blue drop with a ring. It didn't have much in terms of loot, but coming over to it made me spot another Spino as well. And with that sale acquired, I ran back home to see what else I need for the bug repellent.
Narcotic pelt. What are the odds I have pelt, dude? Probably pretty low. I definitely don't have pelt.
Before heading out to get some, I crafted an industrial grill. And of course, I placed it next to my cooker, got some meat cooking, and I went out to look for pelt. I ran all the way back to the snowy forest and almost immediately came across a Yudi.
Oh, perfect.
I killed it and got around 400 pelt, which should be more than enough, so I pieced out of there. And after bunny hopping my way back to base, I crafted up 7 pieces of bug repellent.
I think 7's enough. Oh, effects after 10 minutes? Easily. I hope I'm not spending 70 minutes in that cave.
I made a few simple bullets on day 53 just in case things went south and I'd have to use force to get out of the cave. I then stocked up on grapples and I made shotgun shells. I then got on my Thyla and headed out to the cave.
Let's see what we're working with here.
I put on my ghillie, ate some bug repellent, and began the mission.
Place is literally called the furnace.
I came across a drop down, so I carefully made my way to the bottom, where I came across the first threat, a bat, literally my worst enemy. So I waited for the perfect moment and then sprinted across, and it didn't even notice me. And there was another bat waiting up ahead, but I skipped it by just grappling across to the next part of the cave. However, I would actually have to enter combat mode when I came across these two dilos. I tried getting over them with a grapple, but I fell right down on top of one of them, aggroing both of them.
Got it.
Good thing I brought my shotgun and some shells with me though. Moving along, there was only one bat separating me from the artifact. I ran next to it, grappled the ceiling above the artifact, and I picked it up. And now making my way out of the cave was just simple as getting in. I ran right by all the danger unnoticed, and I grappled out of the drop down.
Take him out. Worked like a charm. Holy. I am out of here.
With the mission completed, I returned back home and put the artifact up for display on my last empty pedestal. And with that out of the way, it was time to finish getting tributes. I had to kill about 4 Spinos, and I wanted to find a single Megalania that I could repeatedly knock out for its toxin. I looked around the rivers and the lakes, but instead of a Spino, I came across a Berserk Fairy.
Oh, hello there. Bloody Berserk Therizino? Okay, you got me. This thing's gonna hit like a truck though. I already know it.
And I was not wrong. I could not kill it face to face. It shredded through my thyless health like it was nothing. So I healed up a bit and then tried again. And then the Theory decided to go for a little swim, so I followed it. I shot at it a couple of times with my shotgun and then finally finished it off with Bat Killer.
Got it. Oh my god, a Theory saddle blueprint. That is so crazy. That's that's kind of funny though. I got it from a Theory.
However, there was a slight issue with the blueprint.
How expensive is it? Ooh. 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 Okay. Plenty of farming coming up.
On day 54, I ran into the redwoods where I knew of a couple Spino spawns.
Dude, there always seems to be a Spino here. I'm gonna kill this, run out of rent, and come back in and see what happens.
And I was right. I left the area for a bit, healed up my Thyla, and when I came back, there was another Spino there waiting for me.
Oh, I did get one.
And seeing my plan had worked, I ran off once again, and I healed up a bit and came back for the final time.
Oh yeah, should have been farming this the whole time.
Just like that, I had all the Spino sales I needed as well, so I came back home, cleared out my inventory, and I headed right back out to find a Megalania. I went up the lava river, and I actually found one, but it was kinda high level.
140? It's gonna be annoying to knock out, dude. Whatever.
It was, however, the only Megalania I could find though, so I got to work on knocking it out.
Where do you think you're going?
And once it was asleep, I killed everything hostile in the area. I then grabbed the toxin from the Megalania, gave it some raw meat, and I force-fed it to heal it back up for round 2. But instead of waiting for it to wake up though, I went around the area looking for another one as they usually spawn in pairs.
Oh, I knew it.
And it was a lower level as well. So I knocked it out, grabbed the toxin, and healed it back up to full health as well. And while waiting for both of them to wake up, I headed back home to repair my armor and grab some more trank arrows. I also put on my trusty ghillie suit to keep me cool in the lava biome. I then took some of the structures that I had lying around with me to trap the Megalanias, making re-knocking them out easier. I placed a simple 2x1 right next to the sleeping Megalania, and I tried kiting it in after it woke up.
Oh, I don't think that's gonna work.
So I started knocking it out the old-fashioned way instead. But as it started running, there wasn't much I could have done other than to watch it literally commit unalive in front of me.
Come back, please. Don't, no. You idiot. Is it possible to get its body?
I still had a few grapples on me though, so I shot the rock in front of me and I slowly rappelled down to its corpse.
Am I him or am I him?
I picked up my trap and went looking for the other Megalania instead. I found it on day 55, however, and it was in a slight pickle, so to say.
Oh my god, you can't be serious.
I cannot be bothered trying to save it though, so I just killed everything and grabbed the toxin. Meaning I still had to find one more Megalania for the final 2 toxin. And since I gotta wait for new ones to spawn, I returned back home and started working on getting the Rex saddles for my army. I got on my Theory and gathered a bunch of fiber right behind my base. I then grabbed some hide from my box and made all the saddles that I needed, and I saddled up the Rexes. And there was still one dino that I needed to get for the boss fight, and that was a Uranus. So I grabbed metal gates, tranks, and for leggings, and I headed out to find one which was a decent level. But the first one I came across was a level 50, so I dropped it along with all its Carno buddies. And nearing the end of the day, I came across another Uti, but it was equally as bad as the first one. Or that's what I thought at least, until I started a fight with it.
Oh, I can get free reward. Did not know that. That's not good. This is not good. This is really not good. I might be cooked, chat.
But luckily, I got away just in the nick of time. The Carno bleed damage wore off, and my Thyla was left with just less than 1000 HP.
Oh my god, I've been given a second chance at life. Carnos are killers, dude.
I healed my Thyla up a bit before continuing the search on day 56, and I actually came across exactly what I needed sooner than I expected.
Oh my god. What a snipe shot, dude. Barely saw it.
I killed its bodyguard Carno and then constructed the trap. I then shot it with a trank to get his attention, but the other 2 Carnos also pulled up on me, so I had to get rid of them first.
Oh,
I got away again, and I ran back to the trap to pick up the last open metal gate. I then climbed up the side of the hill to heal up a little bit, however, another complication soon introduced itself.
oh, there's two of them.
I waited until they separated and then shot the Carno, but I got fear roared again. And after I was done running around like a chicken with its head cut off, I led the UD onto the corpse of the Carno so that it could heal up as well. I then picked up the trap and replaced it closer to the UD as they had wandered off quite a bit by now.
Oh,
But in the midst of all the chaos, I killed the lower level UD and I got the level 145 trapped.
I think I got it.
I did get fear roared one more time, but after Bat Killer finally stopped panicking, I parked him in a safe spot, and I then began shrinking the UD out. And once it was around half health, I decided to find it something to eat.
Piggy. Piggy. What, 130? You're coming home with me, bruh.
So after shooting at the poor baby pig, I gave it some food, and it decided to love me for all time now. Anyways, I continued knocking out the UD until he fell asleep. I then whistled my piggy over to follow me for imprint, and I also found this little bro who unfortunately had to die for prime meat to tame the UD.
I need your prime meat, bruh.
But the shotgun was clearly not enough, so I made quick work of it with a thyla. And while waiting for the UD to tame, I used up the rest of the raw meat I had to heal up Bat Killer again. The UD tamed on day 57, and I gave it a name. On my way back home, I opened up a red drop with a ring.
That is incredibly disappointing. Whatever.
And back at base, I threw the UD out in front of the hatching platform and I grabbed up a few eggs. And I checked to see what I was missing for the UD saddle, and I had everything except for silica pearls. And to be exact, I was only missing 4 pearls.
Being short 4 pearls is an insult.
So I went out to get the rest of the pearls via beaver dams. However, my trip was cut short, but in a good way, because when I opened a yellow drop with a ring, it actually had pearls in it.
Also a red drop right here, though. I might as well cop it.
Good thing I did check that red drop though, as I got a crafted apprentice UD saddle as well as another Theory saddle blueprint. So I came back home, saddled up the UD, and threw out the eggs again. And with those incubated, I crafted a trophy wall mount and placed it above my fridge along with an Alpha Rex skull.
Oh yeah, that looks cool.
After that, I killed all the baby Rexes and I got a bunch of levels, most of which I put into health, resulting in 15,000 HP. So now with my dinos ready for the boss fight, I ventured back to the green obelisk to see what I needed to actually start the boss fight.
Mithril alloy and energy crystals.
And back at base, I looked into my tribute storage box and I started doing some research. On day 58, I went out looking for the cave that had the dwarven forge inside, and after a bit of running around, I found a different one, so I just marked it on my map. And looking inside the forge, it was pretty straightforward. I first had to cook all the ore into ingots, and then had to use those along with the obsidian flux to make mithril alloy. And once the ore was all smelted, I threw it inside with the obsidian flux as well.
Oh, that takes forever to cook.
And after about a century, all the alloy was done, and I returned back to the green obelisk to see how much alloy I would need in total. And honestly, it wasn't looking too pretty, like at all. And this is where I really have to be honest with you guys. At the start of this 100 days, I originally planned to fight all 4 alpha bosses on this map, being the Dragon, Broodmother, Megapithecus, and of course the Bane of Thwadwa. Yeah, I'm not even gonna try to say its name. Anyways, by doing some quick math, I realized that I needed 275 mithril alloy to start all the boss fights in total. And to craft 275 mithril alloy, I would need 1375 mithril, which you get from killing the Berserk Dinos, as you know. But you really only get between 1 and 3 mithril from each Berserk Dino that you kill. So I'd have to kill around 1,000 estimated Berserk Dinos to get all the mithril. And let me remind you that Berserk Dinos take the spawns of Alpha Dinos, meaning they spawn very rarely. So this is basically impossible within this 100 days, which is why I've decided to make the executive decision to only fight the Alpha Bane Thwarter in this 100 days. Yes, I know you're probably disappointed in me right now, and some of you may even be actively clicking off this video. But wait, give me 5 seconds and I'll convince you to stay. Alright, for the rear ones that are still here, thank you. Anyway, my new goal is to kill the Alpha Bane Thordor, as well as collect all 10 artifacts on the map. So we've still got quite a lot of work to do.
Dude, I need so much mithril. I still need to collect artifacts, so gotta get all of them.
So it was time to do a little bit of exploring again. There was that one cave with the weird glowy entrance that I didn't dare to enter yet. So I stocked up on shotgun shells and I went out looking for it again. But instead of that, I found the cave with a dwarven forge that I first encountered back on day 28.
What's this place? Wait, I think I've been in here before.
I looked around a bit more to see if there was an artifact anywhere, but I didn't find anything, so I just left and continued the search. And I soon came across another cave that I'm yet to discover. And inside, I may not have found an artifact, but the crystals on the wall kinda looked mesmerizing. Anyways, after leaving that small crystal cave, I came across a Berserk Raptor. So I put it down for the mithril ore and the other necessary tributes. And eventually, I also found the cave that I was looking for.
Oh, there's the door. I mean,
Going inside, I started going down the path, but I quickly turned around to make sure I could actually leave the cave as the door did shut behind me.
yes.
And with that in mind, I continued into the cave and I soon came across a huge hall with multiple ways to go.
Brother, what is this place?
So I went all the way down to the bottom where I came across a smaller opening leading to a long cave hallway. And going further into the cave slowly turned into an aberration-like cave as I soon came across ravagers and aberration plants.
Nah.
So I continued all the way down the path and I soon entered an actual aberration part of this map.
There's a whole underworld, dude.
I did explore a little bit of it, but it kind of just seemed like a normal aberration zone. And I came across what looked like an exit, so I followed it out and it did in fact lead me straight back to the surface. And with that trip done, but no artifacts collected, I returned back home for the day. On day 60, I wanted to gather some obsidian so I could craft more artifact pedestals. So I grabbed my cryofridge, cryed up the Enki, and I ran to the top of the mountain on my Thylo. So I then placed down the Jenny and cryofridge and cleared the area of any threats. And once the cooldown was up, I threw the Enki back out and farmed a bit of obsidian before going back home to also grab Perry. Anyways, back at the mountain, I waited for the cryo sickness, then threw out Perry. And I farmed the rest of the obsidian, loaded it up on Perry, and headed back home, where I then replaced the cryo fridge and I made 7 extra pedestals. And I placed them all down, but they came a bit too close to the door on the side of my base, so I picked them all up and replaced them just a little bit further away as I think it looks better. Anyways, with all the new pedestals placed, it was time to head back out again to see if I could cop an artifact or two. And while out and about, I came across another berserk raptor, so of course I killed it. Anyways, I soon came across an unexplored cave, so I ventured inside.
Underwater? How far underwater? Not far.
But I was greeted by a few not so friendly creatures on the other side. So after taking care of those, I ventured deeper into the cave and I actually found what I came here for.
Artifact?
I did have to take care of the locals before grabbing it, and with the artifact secured, I continued into another part of the cave, where I soon came across a yellow drop with some questionable loot. And speaking of questionable, I came across something written on the wall.
What? Dude, nah, those are death spikes. I'm not jumping in there.
I also found an open gate that led into a lava part of the cave. So I pulled out my grapples and I continued inside. And inside I found a few more interesting things.
A bulldog? Brother, what is this place?
But there was no artifact in sight, so I continued another way.
Arc 2?
At least I found a better shotgun than the one I was carrying.
Dude, Arc 2 is never coming. We all know this. It's not real. I'm not convinced.
On day 61, I came across another drop that was behind what looked like a lethal fall. So I pulled out my grapples and reeled myself in to see the drop.
Bro, the RG saddle?
Exactly what I need on a map with no flyers. At least I got this really good fabricated sniper though. Anyways, I wandered around the cave for a little bit, but then I actually returned to the lava part as I knew there was an artifact somewhere in there. I looked around a bit, but then grappled to the back wall of the cave where I then spotted another ledge that looked promising. And grappling over revealed another door which led straight into the second artifact.
Oh yeah.
Coming back out of there was one more yellow drop waiting for me, and you already know I had to go get it. But considering the fact that I nearly died trying to get the loot, it was very underwhelming. Alright, with both artifacts from this cave secured, I headed out and back to base. And the trip back home may or may not have involved me killing another berserk. Anyways, back at base, I first repaired my armor and then put the new artifacts up for display. And with storage space running a bit low again, I made another 2 storage boxes before the end of the day.
With the goal of collecting all the artifacts, I still need 5 more. Quite a bit, honestly.
I also wanted to see the boss requirements again, so I made a quick stop at the green obelisk to check them out.
Troll snot? Does a man get troll snot? I didn't even know trolls spawn on this man.
Coming back home, I killed another berserk raptor that dropped me a decent megatherium saddle that would actually come in handy really soon. And once back at base, I did some more research on troll snot.
So trolls, they apparently do exist, and they're in some cave with a bunch of bugs. I know all this because I just watched a video. Anyways, it suggested that a megatherium would be best for the cave, since there's all the bugs, get the bug buffs, and fight the trolls, which give unholy remains, which I need along with troll snot. So, just tame me a megatherium. I've got a good saddle for one anyway.
In short, troll bad. Troll gave tributes, and I need to kill troll. So I grabbed my taming gear, repaired the crossbow, and stocked up on grapples, and I headed out to look for a good megatherium. And luckily, I didn't have to look around for too long, as I made my way over to the snow, where the first megatherium that I actually found was a level 140.
Oh my god, dude. First one I find, 10 out of 10 shoddy. What?
So I placed down my trap, but when I actually came over to grab the megatherium's attention, this happened.
Brother, are you really stuck? No, you're not getting stuck there. Come on, use my trap. Bro, are you serious? Did you really just get stuck there? Whatever.
With the megatherium knocked out, I picked up my trap and went looking out for food for it. And in doing so, I may have gotten a bit off track.
Brother, it is dead. Just for that, I'm killing your kid. Both of your kids. They're inside each other for some reason. Pause. Oh, yeah, you want the smoke? I'm expressing my freedom, bro. My Second Amendment. I don't care if you're a mammoth and you don't respect it. I don't care about you either. Oversized bacon. Alright, I'll stop now.
Anyways, with plenty of prime meat gathered, I fed the Megatherium and I waited. Once it tamed on day 63, I named it.
Buggy boy.
I saddled it up and cryoed Buggy Boy, then ran back home to level it up and get ready for the cave. I grabbed the male Rex, positioned it next to all the females, and I bred them along for the fresh batch of XP. Anyways, once the babies were hatched, I killed them and started leveling up the Megatherium. However, its stats were not looking too good.
This Megatherium sucks.
Anyways, I grabbed the red drop that landed down near my base, and I killed a Theory for raw meat, which I then used to heal the Megatherium with. Come day 64, I cryoed up the Megatherium, picked up my cryo fridge, and I got ready to head off to the cave.
Don't know where this cave is. I just gotta find it off coordinates.
And those led me right back into the cave with the glowing entrance.
I think I gotta go back in here.
This time around though, I took a different route which led me to a big open hall.
Well, what is this place?
I ran all the way into the back and there were more stairs leading even deeper into the underground. So of course I followed them until I arrived at what looked like to be an abandoned mine. And there I found the first couple of scorpions, so I killed them and placed out my cryo fridge where I then threw the Megatherium out. And I started killing all the nasties up ahead until I came across something that I've never seen before.
What is that? A nameless creature.
I left it alone as I didn't have the bug buff anymore. I then jumped down into a crowd of bugs, killed them all, and with my buff active again, I ran back to the questionable looking creature.
What are these things? Oh my god.
Killing it gave me a bunch of mithril ore and a few smelted ingots as well as the unholy remains that I needed for the boss. And continuing into the cave exploration, I soon came across my first troll.
Here's the trolls.
Killing it gave me a single piece of troll snot, but it actually took so long to kill that I lost the bug buff again. But no worries, after getting it back on an Arthro, I returned to clap the other troll as well.
Look, these things give no snot.
Trolls aside, I found this interesting looking crystal, so I tried harvesting it and it actually gave me element shards. Anyhow, I actually then stumbled into a room full of those nameless creatures, so I quickly ran out to kill a spider to get the buff back and I returned to cause havoc. I killed one more of the nameless creatures before going back to the main part of the mine, where I then cryoed up the Megatherium and grappled back up to my Thyla. On day 65, I came across another duo of trolls.
Yeah, there's more trolls in here. Oh, I get the whole game.
I killed one of the trolls and the other one managed to get itself stuck in the ceiling somehow. So I came down from the rock that I was fighting it from, and when I turned around it had just disappeared.
Oh, he's gone.
And since the trolls only give one snot per troll, I had to do a little bit of cheesing. I left the area and then returned back to see that another troll had actually spawned.
Level 300?
It may have been level 300, but its IQ wasn't even a fraction of that, as I could stand on a rock right next to it, biting its head, and it wouldn't do a thing about it. And going back down into the room full of nameless creatures, they had also all respawned, so I made quick work of them with Bat Killer. And two more trolls were also found in a little room where I found the first one. I tried to find a spot where I could hit them without getting hit back, but I couldn't, so I had to tank a few hits here and there, and I eventually took them down.
You get a ton of mithril from this. It's crazy. Make my life a lot easier.
I wanted to get all the troll snot I needed out of the way while I was down here in this cave, so I tried to cheese it again by leaving the area and waiting, but this time I didn't find any new trolls.
Why is there not more trolls?
I was just 4 troll slots short, but seeing that I couldn't get any more to spawn by running back and forth, I decided to leave the cave for now and come back later. I returned back to base on day 66, and after clearing out my inventory, I returned to the green obelisk to see my progress on the tributes.
I have all the unholy remains of the energy crystals, so it's just the mithril alloys troll slot.
I returned back home to grab all the mithril ore that I had, and I went back out to the Dwarven Forge again to smelt all the rest of it.
Right, now just to sit here and watch. Dude, you think for like a giant Dwarven Forge, I think it'd be faster.
What didn't help with the production speed on it though was me accidentally pressing E on it as well.
Oh, I turned it off. I gotta get another energy crystal.
After a quick back and forth from base, I powered the forge up once again and waited for all the alloy to finish cooking. With the last mithril alloy cooked on day 67, I headed back home.
Okay, I think I'm gonna go back, try and get the troll snot now.
And while going over to the cave, I killed 2 berserk raptors and I also healed up my Thyla a bit.
Here's the door.
And the cave literally expected me to come by as the door started opening before I even made it close to it. So I ran straight back down into the mines and into one of the rooms with the trolls.
Hold on, where are the trolls at? Oh, there's one.
And this troll was a bit of a tougher nut to crack. It kept running around avoiding my attacks and it also hit like a truck. But eventually it just folded out of nowhere.
Oh, it just falls. Oh, it died. It died from the bleed damage. I thought it fell asleep.
And as a bonus, I got a bunch of mithril. So after healing up my Thyla a bit more, I ran down to the other troll spawn area. And there were 2 of them waiting for me there. I killed the level 40 head on, and the other one got itself stuck in the entrance somehow. So I went ham on it with Bat Killer. And I also added some insult to injury while at it.
These things are ugly, man.
I then checked on the nameless creatures as they dropped a bunch of mithril that I would need as well. On day 68, I found the last troll that I needed, but not in the way that you'd expect.
One in the wall? There is one in the... Is there two in the wall?
There were in fact 2 trolls stuck in the wall, so I freed them both from their suffering and I got all the snot that I would need.
Alright, let's get out of this hellhole.
I exited the cave and then ran all the way back home, where I then filled up my feeding troughs with all the raw meat that I had left over.
Dude, I still need to get 5 more artifacts. I'm gonna go smelt the rest of this stuff, though.
And just as planned, I grabbed all the mithril again and returned back to the Dwarven Forge. I lit it and waited. As morning rose on day 69, all the alloy finished cooking.
Finally, that's all done.
But the grind for mithril was still far from over, so I returned back home to see how much I had in total.
Okay, so I think I need 75 for the cube in the boss, and I have 45. So I need to hunt berserks. Alright, I'll do a little berserk hunting for a little bit, and then I also still need to get 5 artifacts. Got 30 days to do so. We're doing alright on time.
I also opened up a red drop down near my base, and it got me a fresh pair of ride gloves, and after that I went out to kill said berserks. Or that was the plan at least. I ran around the map looking for them, but they were nowhere to be seen. And while searching, I ended up at the Dwarven mine again since the trolls and nameless creatures actually did give a lot of mithril. So I decided to kill those instead. I exited the cave on day 70, and with a bunch more mithril to my name, I went straight back to the Dwarven Forge to smelt it all, and just to see how much alloy that I was working with. And you probably already know, I spent the whole day just waiting for it to smelt because it takes forever. Seriously, it should not take this long. I also noticed something I got from either a drop or a Berserk Dino at some point.
When did I get that? Crazy Thyla saddle.
Besides that saddle, all the mithril has finished cooking, so I returned back home to see that I had a total of 61 alloy. And I then ran back to the green obelisk to see if I was missing anything.
Yeah, so I think I need 14 more mithril alloy, and I think I've got the rest of everything I need.
Back at base, I repaired up my flak and I fired up the grill with a bunch of raw meat inside. And besides the tributes, I was still missing 5 artifacts, so it was time to get to work on actually getting those.
Alright, artifact in the massive, I think it's in the redwoods. I'm gonna go try and bag that.
On my way over, I killed a raptor that dropped me an Ascendant treasure map.
Oh, Ascended treasure map. My day is getting better and better. And the new Glock. Streets ain't ready for me, dude. They are not ready. Oh! Oh! Help!
Okay, perhaps I was not ready for the streets, but I still clapped the basilisk and saved my aura. I rushed back home to eat some stimulants so I wouldn't knock out from the torpor gang, and I then used the treasure map to see where the loot was, and I went over to the Thyla. And once I arrived at the location, I pulled out my shovel and dug up the treasure chest.
Bruh. Pretty lame. Whatever.
Alright, enough of getting sidetracked. Time to actually get the artifact. I made my way into the redwoods, and after looking around for a little bit, I actually found the cave entrance.
Where's this cave at? It's not in the lake, is it? Oh my god. I knew it.
But I quickly turned around as I wanted to grab scuba. Back at base, I made a tank and a pair of flippers, and then returned back to the cave before the end of the day. I quit my scuba and I dived in again on day 72.
Huh. Maybe I didn't need scuba.
What I did need, however, was my generator and cryo fridge, as there was another choke point my Thyla definitely couldn't fit through.
Oh, no way. Man, I think I'll bring some ghillie and bug repellent just in case I can't actually throw it out.
While coming back home, I got a little sidetracked on the taxman duty. I mean, you can't just pass up on free beaver dams when you see them.
Collecting taxes.
Anyways, I picked up the crops that have been sitting in my crop plots and stored them away in the fridge along with all the cooked meat from the grill. And after grabbing all the necessities I needed for the cave, I returned hopefully for the final time. I waited for the cooldown, crowded up the Thyla, and just as I anticipated, I couldn't actually throw it down inside.
Oh. I knew it.
Thankfully, I brought a plan B with me as well.
Bravo 6. Going dark.
I tried going down slowly, but in the progress, I aggroed one of the Megalanias, so I grappled back up to the top and continued going on the intended path.
Is that a swinging axe?
I jumped over the middle of the cave, and I noticed something swimming in the water around me.
Wait. There's otters in here. There's no fish, though. I'm not going to be able to tame them.
But otters aren't what I'm here for, so I continued into the next part of the cave. I nearly fell into a hole that was covered by foliage, but thankfully I noticed it in time so I could jump over it safely. I was, however, running a bit low on grapples though. I should be fine though, and next up I arrived at a drop near the end of the tunnel, and I actually noticed a yellow cave drop just below me, so I jumped down to see the loot inside. What I didn't expect though is to literally get jumped by a snake, and since it was level 290, it quickly put me to sleep and finished me off.
Bro.
And after all these days, I still didn't even place a bed down in my house. So I had to respawn in Seagull Bay and run all the way home, which also proved to be a bit of a challenge though.
Brother.
I finally made it into the safety of my home on the second attempt, but I still had to worry about recovering my gear. So I equipped a set of flak, grabbed my other shotgun and grapples and some shells. I then also grabbed a few stews from my fridge that could come in handy. With hopefully everything I need prepared, I set back out to the cave on Kitten. Since I didn't have any ghillie on me this time, I had to be quick. I grappled to the other side of the cave and reeled myself in, avoiding all the spiders and megalanias in the first part of the cave. Back at the drop down, I grappled up to the ceiling and then slowly descended right down to all the bugs. And from there, I pulled out my shotgun and started blasting.
There's a snake that got me.
With the threat taken care of, I grabbed all my stuff, re-kitted up, and I continued the cave exploration. I grappled back up to the top, and I noticed a second ledge literally right in front of me, so I jumped down there and carried on. And after killing just a couple more bozos, the artifact was in sight.
Dude, there's statues of Kipper, and there's Kippers right here, and they're super high level, but there's no fish in here, so I can't tame them. This is the best place, and they have little golden eggs, bro. This is the best place ever. This is the best place ever. The Kipper Temple, bro. Look at all of them. They're adorable.
Anyhow, I took the artifact and said my goodbye to the Kippers. And on my way out of the cave, I opened one more yellow drop that had a fresh pair of Ascendant Ghillie gauntlets for me. I then picked up my structures, got back on Kitten, and I returned back to base where I placed the 6th artifact on the next pedestal in line. And now, with 6 out of 10 artifacts collected, I did some more research to find where I could get the remaining 4.
Oh, I found the locations. I am him. Just gotta scour the internet. Definitely gonna need more grapples.
So I went out to stock up on thatch again and then made a bunch more grapples. However, making all those ate through all of my metal stocks and I was once again out of it. That being said, day 74 began with a quick metal farm. But to light all the forges, I also had to stop by the forest and gather some wood, but I made quick work of it with my theory.
Farm up some spark powder now. I wanna make some more shotgun bullets. Perry's actually getting big workload this video.
And with the lack of flyers, I had to use whatever weight I could get, and Perry could carry a decent bit of resources with him, so he was a perfect candidate for the job. Anyhow, after all the flint and stone had been gathered, I brought it back home to turn into spark powder and gunpowder. And while kitting up again for the next cave, I got an idea.
You know what? I should make up some medical brews. Keep those on me.
Me and Perry had a little bit of work to do before he could rest, so I jumped on the back of him and ran into the woods where I farmed up a bunch of narco berries.
I need to tame a better berry harvester. I think there's Brontos on this map. I think I've seen one.
Also, my trough has piled up quite a bit of spoiled meat by now, so I didn't have to worry about that at all. And I grabbed it all and threw it into my mortar and pestles, then finally made the narcotics. On day 75, I made my first few medical brews, as well as a bunch more gunpowder, simple bullets, and eventually shotgun shells.
Let's go and try and get the artifact to be immune.
And as usual, I got slightly distracted on the way over to the cave.
Ooh, cool drop with our ring. You got me.
And the wait for the drop to fall was definitely not worth it.
Bruh.
Anyways, once I finally arrived at the cave coordinates, I didn't have to look around for too long before eventually finding the entrance.
Oh, it's right here. And of course, as always, it has a choke point. Good thing I've got ghillie and bug repellent though.
And if that wasn't enough, the air inside wasn't safe to breathe either.
Oh my god, it has poisonous air. I need scuba or a gas mask. Are you serious?
Before leaving though, I tried one more thing, and that was to wear full ghillie armor.
Yeah, it lessens the damage.
Coming back home, I looked through all my structures to see if I could actually craft it. But I actually found some substrate in one of my boxes, which is exactly how many I would need for one gas mask.
Oh, I have 2 absorbent substrate. Oh my. Clutch, 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 dude.
So I crafted the one gas mask that I could, but I would have to be extra careful going through the cave, as if this were to break, I would definitely be in a lot of trouble. And since this cave was also inaccessible to Thylas, I made a bunch more shotgun shells before the end of the day.
I'm gonna farm up medical brews. Actually, I need to tame a Bronto.
So on day 76, I grabbed up my tranks and headed out to find said Bronto.
Does a man find a Bronto around here?
And since I was already at the lake and the giant beaver dam was just standing there waiting for me, I parked my Thyla out front and looted all the beaver's hard work. Eventually though, I did find a duo of Brontos, however they weren't exactly fit for my needs.
Oh, yes sir. Oh my god, they're both level 15.
Since they failed to meet basic taming requirements, there's really only one thing I could have done, and that was to send them both back to the lobby. And while on the topic of killing things, I came across this fella.
Hello. Not what I'm looking for, but not complaining.
Complaining would begin though when I literally ran around the whole map for half a day and I'm yet to see any high level Brontos.
Man, I should attend one of those 15s. I can't find a Bronto for the life of me.
I even headed all the way up north and I eventually found a small family of them though, and one of which just happened to be a level 145.
Ah, hello. Oh, shoddy.
And as a bonus, a Berserk Raptor was also right next to them, waiting to die. Once it was taken care of, I started knocking out the 145 while tanking its tail swings. I did, however, get rudely interrupted by a Micro Raptor.
Oh.
But it got packed up, and soon after a bit of trouble, I knocked out the Bronto as well.
Go to sleep. Don't go off the cliff. Go to sleep. Go to sleep. And he's out.
Now, Brontos really like to take their time losing hunger while asleep, so for the time being, I headed back home to get Mayho berries. Back at base on day 77, I sorted out my inventory and then used Perry one last time to gather Mayho berries. After that, I returned back to feed the Bronto and I waited for it to tame, which literally took the entire day.
It's almost tame, dude.
I told you, these things drain hunger really slowly. Once it did finally wake up though, I gave it a very fitting and demure name.
Berryeth.
I then stuffed Berryeth into my pocket and headed back home on day 78.
Berserk Trike. Alright, ignore that voice crack.
After absolutely breaking the trike's ankles, I also spotted a rare Berserk mountain raptor vibing dangerously close to the cliff's edge.
Berserk Raptor just chilling up here.
I climbed up above it so that I would have the high ground and then started biting at its forehead.
Oh wait, I found the strat.
And after a few hits, the raptor moved, so I shot it a couple times then jumped down next to it to finish it off. And it kinda just took the beating as granted, as it did not do a thing about it. Anyways, I then made it back home, learned, and crafted the saddle for Berryeth. And with Berryeth out of my pocket again, I swung left and right and I got a ton of berries in mere seconds.
Oh yeah, this is worth easily.
A few swings later, I decided to pack up and go to a different area instead, as the trees were obstructing me from all the bushes. But I did make some more narcotics with the berries that I got, and I crafted up a few medical brews and then headed out to find a better spot for farming.
Place is looking a little better. What is that? Hold up. Rex.
Not just any Rex though, but a 150. So of course, I killed it along with the bugs and then resumed my berry grind once the cryo cooldown had ended.
There's a Berserk Raptor.
More mithril for me, I guess. And I also got a nice pair of flak leggings, as well as an RG saddle blueprint for some reason. I really hate getting flyer saddles. It makes me so sad. I miss them. Anyway, shortly after that though, I was nearly encumbered with all the berries, so I cryopotted the Bronto and returned back to base. Except I left my cryo fridge and generator, so I had to return back to grab them on day 79.
Okay, grab these here medical brews. I'll put it. Alright, now, finally, let's go get the artifact of the immune.
I ran back to the cave, put on my ghillie and the gas mask, and then proceeded into the cave. And it was very similar inside to the island swamp cave, as there was a metric ton of Meganors waiting for me inside.
Oh my god. Are you kidding me?
If I were to so much step on one of them, I would get absolutely cooked by the rest. So I grappled to the ceiling and reeled myself in, and then looked around to see where I could go next.
Oh, it was over there.
So I carefully made my way through and I shot it in a Renio that was standing in the way, but that quickly proved to be a mistake.
What? They all know where I am.
So I quickly grappled right back to the entrance and rushed to my Thyla.
Are you kidding me? Oh, they're out.
I killed all the spiders that came out after me and then went into the cave again. Going deeper, I came across an Arthropleura literally sitting below a swinging axe. I packed it up with a shotgun, and when the timing was right, I jumped through, avoiding the axe, and the cave had a few more traps that I had to look out for as well.
Oh, those are pressure plates.
So I grappled over to the door, however, I couldn't go through it yet as it was locked. I did notice something off to the right side of the room though.
Oh, what's that on the right?
It was a button, and thinking it would open the gate, I pressed it. But instead, it spawned a scorpion and a bat, so I rushed out of there.
Dude, are you kidding me? It was a trap.
I shot at the scorpion and then went back in, but I was still confused by the button. So instead of going in blind and most likely dying, I did a bit more research. And now that I'm armed with knowledge, I knew there were exactly 3 buttons that I needed to press. And I had to press them in a specific order. So I did that and the gate finally opened.
So, hold up. I'm about to pass out. Why did I just get tranked?
I waited for my torpor to drop, then continued in. And I very quickly found out what had actually tranked me.
What?
After I woke up from my little nap, I continued down the tunnel where I stumbled upon writing on the wall.
What does that say? Sacrifices must be made to achieve progress? What?
My bug repellent was also running out, so I took a step back and lay down on the floor, and waited for it to end so I could reapply another.
I'm praying I don't get swarmed by Meganors.
Thankfully, that didn't happen though, so I had an extra 7 minutes to work with. I grappled to the wall that was closer and saw what I had to do.
I have to go in that hole.
The spiders got aggro to me when I was trying to grapple somewhere else, so I had to shoot them before moving on. And I came up on a small drop in the cave, so I grappled across the other side, and there I finally saw the artifact that I was after.
There's the artifact. Are these dead baby frogs? Okay, screw it. Get the artifact.
And with the artifact acquired, I grappled back out and booked it out of there. Once the door opened again, I grappled across, but there were some spiders still chasing me, so I had to stop and kill them.
Can't hit the Meganors.
But then something hit me and hell unfolded.
No. What did I do? What did I do?
I started shooting grapples everywhere, drinking med brews, and I actually managed to get back to my Thyla and leave the cave somehow.
I actually just made it out of there, dude. Oh my god, am I crazy?
And with that mission successfully completed, I ran back home and I put the artifact of the immune on display. That cave ate through most of my grapples, so I'm gonna have to make new ones. So of course, I crafted stone arrows and a few more grapples before the end of the day. For day 80, I wanted to go out and get the rest of the mithril alloy that I needed. So I hopped back on my Thyla and I returned to the mines of Thwardar to kill nameless and trolls again. And the first troll actually gave me a lot of mithril.
Oh yeah, that's what I need.
And next up, I paid a visit to the nameless creatures again.
Hello. I'm here for the resources that you so politely dropped to me when I killed you.
After killing those, I flatlined a couple more trolls and then decided to head out.
It's about time I make a visit to the Dwarven Forge now.
As planned, I exited the cave and I ran back home to grab the rest of the mithril ore before heading out to the Dwarven Forge and starting the smelting process.
Yay! I'm going to become a vegetable for like the next day or so. I hope this gives me enough mithril alloy.
And halfway into day 81, all the mithril was turned into alloy, so I grabbed it and returned back home.
Yes, sir. All the mithril alloy that I need. Now, if I were to do all 4 of the main bosses on the map, I would need about 4 times this amount. Brat. Alright, I now still need 3 more artifacts.
But first, I had to do a few chores like making more medical brews and narcotics.
Okay, I believe the next artifact, the artifact of the Skylord, is in a snow cave. Really not excited to fight what's in there. This fur should keep me warm enough.
I picked up my cryo fridge just in case, and before leaving, I made one more storage box to store all the hide and cayenne that I had.
Praying I can fit my Thyla into the cave, because I do not want to fight dire wolves and polar bears on foot. Like, I genuinely won't be able to kill them.
And once I arrived at the entrance, it was pretty easy to find. I headed right in.
Please, no choke point.
There was a slight choke point that my Thyla did not fit through. However, though, I came across a different issue inside the cave.
Ooh, are those Prolovia? Yeah, gonna have to be strategical about this.
I shot at one of the Prolovias and a couple of wolves noticed me as well, so I killed them as well as the Prolovia. Now I just had to deal with the bears. I jumped down onto a rock and I could actually bite them from above without getting hit. That is until one of the bears found a way to get to me.
Oh! Yeah, this guy found a way up.
And even though I had a really good Thyla saddle, these bears were still hitting like trucks.
Dude, these polar bears hit so hard, man.
Once they were dealt with though, I healed up my Thyla a bit and then ran into the buried Prolovia, which stunned both me and the Thyla. But once the stun wore off, I clapped it as well. I then killed another trio of wolves and then healed up again. And a new foe has appeared in the next part of the cave, being a Yeti. And it had a pretty decent bit of health. But honestly, it wasn't doing much in terms of damage, so I took it down pretty easily.
Oh, there's another choke. Please. No! Okay. I can fit through.
Following the choke, there was a small parkour section that led to absolutely nowhere.
Nothing over here.
So I turned around and went the other way where I killed more wolves.
Wolves are no joke.
I healed up a bit again, but the next part of the cave was crowded with all the locals. So instead of going head on, I jumped off to the side to fight a smaller group of wolves instead. And while trying to aggro them over one at a time, I accidentally shot one of the wolves, leading all of them to come over to me as well.
Oh my god. Got the whole squad, bro. Found the strat though, don't worry.
Look at his body, why is he sprayed out like that? After that scuffle, I had just one more dire bear to take care of before moving into the next part of the cave. And on day 83, I came up to exactly what I didn't want to see in this cave.
Oh my god, it's a choke. Please tell me this is a breakable rock. No. You can't do this to me.
No! I carefully made my way deeper into the cave.
Brother, what is this place? Where's a man go from here?
And as a nice little bonus, there was a level 560 bat around as well. And while looking around a little bit, I figured out what I had to do.
Oh, it's parkour.
Well, good thing I brought my grapples, right?
Can't use the grappling hook here.
So once again, I devised a little plan of action. First, I aggroed over the bat so I could kill it with my Thyla.
Alright, dude. Time to crank out some parkour.
I jumped across all 3 pillars without a problem, and then came to another little terrain parkour section. But after that, the artifact was right there waiting for me.
Oh my god. This can't be. Level 80.
I had no parachutes, grapples were disabled, and my only other option was to fight for it or do whatever I'm about to do. I jumped across, ran up to the artifact, grabbed it, and I immediately turned around to run away.
You only live once. You only live once. I'm out.
Looking back, I did just lose those bats aggro. However, I fell into the water at the parkour section. So I now just had to get back up, and I jumped across the chunks of ice to the other side.
Yeah, you're not tough, bro. I've got a boomstick.
And from that point on, it was pretty straightforward. I returned to my Thyla and I headed out of the cave. And having killed everything on the way in, it was just a walk in the park, and that's artifact number 8 secured. On day 84, I queued up another 100 medical brews over at the cooker.
Okay, I'm gonna go see. Can I go craft that cube thing? I think I need this unholy remains and then mithril alloy. See if I can craft the cube of the bane of the word.
I ran over to the green obelisk to see all the requirements, and I actually forgot that I needed energy crystals as well as troll snot. So after a quick back and forth, I had everything I needed to craft the item.
Damn, a bane of wow. Oh yeah.
I stored the gem away in my tribute box, then had an epic stare down with the floor for the rest of the day. On day 85, I decided to go out and spend some time hunting drops and berserks to see if I could find a Rex saddle blueprint, as that would come in clutch in the boss fight.
Red drop, yellow drop of the ring. Good time to start drop hunting.
The first yellow drop hooked me up with a nice pair of Ascendant Flak leggings and a decent Mastercraft shield, but my luck quickly faded as the red drop only had some shadow steaks and a veggie cake for me, neither of which I actually needed right now, and the other yellow drop was also filled with junk. While making my way over to a purple drop, I also decided to practice my parkour skills a little bit.
Oh, Oh, I lost Tora for that one.
But the drop hooked me up with some beer so that I could forget what just happened. I then made my way up a mountain to look around to see if I could spot any other drops. But other than a few blue drops I wasn't gonna bother opening, the sky looked rather dry. I also stepped on one of those teleporting platforms that take you up to one of the floating islands.
Oh, this is how I get a good view of the drops. I should have built my base up here, man. This is beautiful.
I admired the view for a while, then noticed a yellow drop way off in the distance. So I did the only logical thing and jumped off the island, and right before I hit the ground, I negated any fall damage by pressing E. I just love Ark's logic. Anyway, going over to the yellow drop proved to actually be a waste of time once I actually got over there to see the contents. And this purple drop that landed nearby, I didn't even bother despawning. At the very least though, I got to kill a berserk raptor, and it dropped me a semi-decent flat boots blueprint. And while roaming around, I visited another one of those small villages that are scattered around the map, and this one was still occupied by, let's just call them ops because they deemed me a threat as soon as I arrived.
What the? Dude, I just wanted to chill here.
The hunt continued into day 86, and with a couple of useless purple drops followed by one that actually had a better pickaxe for me. And at this point, even the red drops were starting to become disappointing.
Bro, I'm not having much luck finding a wreck saddle blueprint here.
The berserks were not helping either.
Although I don't want Anki saddles.
But then I stumbled into this beauty.
Oh my god, it's a unicorn.
I did have vegetables back at base, so I marked the unicorn with a waypoint on my map. I then grabbed the nearby blue drop and I ran back home to get the rock carrots. And on day 87, I headed back to the unicorn. On my way over, I also opened a mid red drop, but that's not really what I was here for. Back at the plateau, I killed a pego and then fed the horse and jumped on its back.
Oh, I only need one more tame. Easy. Pony boy. Yeah. Oh. Pony girl.
And I also made sure Pony Girl knew her place.
You are nothing but a trophy pet.
I then opened one more yellow drop before returning home for the day. The entirety of day 88 looked something like this. Yeah, I didn't do much at all. On day 89, I introduced Pony Girl to her new home.
Alright, I'm gonna keep looking for drops and or berserk dinos.
And what better way to show you than a short montage of every drop that I opened.
Wreck saddle blueprint.
Bruh.
Berserk Carno? Oh, I knew it. Low-key hate fighting Berserk Carnos because their bleed damage shreds, but whatever.
This one was only a level 90, so I dropped it quickly, but the loot was nothing worth celebrating.
Sir? No sir. Okay, so there's only one more cave, and that houses supposedly the last two artifacts that I need here. But the description of the cave is a crazy place. Don't bring anything you care about losing. If you die on single player, there's a good chance your body falls through the floor. Yeah, so I'm not excited about it.
First things first, I cleared out my inventory of all the unnecessary junk I got from the drops. I then headed out to the cave for a little bit of a scouting run to see what I could do. Going over to the coordinates, I leaped off the edge of a cliff and I actually landed right in front of the cave entrance.
Oh, this is probably the cave.
And I quickly came across the first few reasons why I was warned about bringing anything I cared about inside.
Oh my god. Are you... Let's do some experimenting.
I picked a few bushes just outside so that I can make sleeping bags, as those would be necessary for what I was about to do. I then transferred all my stuff into Bat Killer and headed inside the cave, where I then got past the first couple traps. I waited at a flaming spinny thingy for a bit and then sent it.
Oh, what?
But I couldn't exactly keep going as the floor up was already spiked.
Bro, there's spikes right there? Dude, I feel like I'm gonna be trying this a lot. They weren't lying when they said this cave was crazy. I'm barely even in it.
So on attempt number 2, I passed through the first 2 traps and I crouched at the corner of the pillar to avoid the flames as well as the spikes. I waited for a little bit and tried analyzing the pattern of how the spikes came up and down. But when I tried going forward, I got impaled.
What?
And not just once.
What?
After respawning, I grabbed my crossbow and a few grapples to see if that worked, but I quickly got my answer.
Nope.
So I tried going in again. I made it to the corner again, and this time I ran for it.
What? On hardcore, dude, this would be impossible. Let's get a death counter going of how many times I die here.
Before going in again, I made another 4 sleeping bags, placed them down, and I tried again. I made it to the corner, got a little burnt, then ran through the spikes, but they got me again.
This is gonna be the end of me, bro. I could try and come in here with a philo.
And after dying to the flames once again, I decided that would be my next course of action. I spawned back in Seagull Bay as I still didn't have a bed in my house for some reason, and then ran all the way home just to get eaten by a duo of sabers.
Mother, are you... God, why are they outside my gate?
This time, I snuck up close to my gate, and when the coast was clear, I ran for it. I grabbed the saddle from Kitten and put it on my male Thyla. I also got another idea while grabbing the second kit.
That's what I need to bring. I need to bring medical brews.
I grabbed whatever brews I had from my cooker and then headed out back on the cave on my other Thyla. I arrived at the entrance on day 92, and I stored most of my brews away into Bat Killer and then went inside with my Thyla. I ran under the blades and through the flames and jumped above the spikes, and I somehow managed to land on the ledge of the door, but when I jumped off, I made it into the next hall unharmed.
Well, that's easy.
There were trophies with the island's 3 main bosses around, which left me a little bit confused.
Time to do some research. Okay, I need to do the spider first.
Going through, I had to dodge another flame trap and some more spikes. And I then came up to a room that had a little bit of parkour, but this time falling was not an option as the floor was literally lava.
And there's spikes in that? Alright, this has gotta be a joke.
I got hit by the spikes behind me on purpose to see how much damage they would do to my thigh.
Like nothing.
Armed with this information, I jumped across the spiked floor and into the next hallway. That was also covered with spikes. But I ran right through it and made it into another small room with a broodmother trophy that had a button right beneath it.
Press that.
I then ran back to the main hall to see that the spider trophy was now lit up.
Now I think I gotta do the monkey next.
And the traps down this way were a bit more brutal. There were saws poking out of the walls and swinging axes. But perhaps it was all for show as I ran right through it with my thyla. But I couldn't actually fit in the room with the button, so I had to jump off where I then pressed the second button. I then got back on my thyla and ran through all the traps once again. And the monkey trophy was also lit up. That left me with one more to go, and this one was a little bit different. Instead of traps, it was a quiz.
Helena, I'm afraid. That was Rockwell. This is cool.
Pressing the button, the door opened. However, the choke point was too tight for my thyla to fit through, so I had to do this on foot.
Who created the first tech suit in the ARC system?
After definitely not Googling, I pressed Santiago, and the door opened.
What is the correct orders of the story arcs? Oh, I know this. Island, Scorched Earth, Aberration, Sanction, and 1, and 2.
But the next question was a bit nerve-wracking.
That's not ominous. Push the button if you dare, I dare.
Thankfully, nothing bad happened after pressing the button though. The gate opened and I was rewarded with a little bit of motivation as well. Going back to the main hall, the floor had opened, revealing another part of the cave. However, my thigh was still too fat to fit through it as well. But there were no more traps, thankfully. The artifacts were right there waiting for me, as well as a couple cave drops. I grabbed everything and I left the cave mostly unscathed.
Okay, I got quite low on HP there, but got what I needed. Awesome.
And I finally grabbed my kit, replaced my flag to crowd up kitten, and I left back to base. On day 93, I put the last 2 artifacts up for display, completing the lineup.
How drippy does this look, dude? Alright, I'll stop now. Looks pretty cool though. Okay, so I had an idea, right? I have not been able to acquire an otter, and it would not be a grant you 100 days without acquiring an otter, otherwise known as Kipper. Now we know where we know where the cave where all the otters spawn at, right? So what my plan is, I'm gonna try and get fish baskets, get fish from outside, go into the cave, and try to tame an otter there. Who even knows if I can even tame the otters because they're like level 400 trillion.
But I still had to try. I unlocked the fish basket and checked the crafting requirements, which included fungal wood. And this map does indeed have an aberration area, and it was also really close to my base. So I got on my thyla and ran down to it. As expected, I quickly came across a fungal tree or mushroom, whatever. I chopped down a few of them for the fungal wood. And back at base, I crafted 1 basket, but I ran out of fibers. So I had to farm up a little bit of that with my theory again, and then made an extra 4 baskets.
5 fish baskets, surely that's enough.
Step 2 was to actually fill them up with fish. So I ran over to a lake and I tried to trap a few different fish.
Come on, come on. Dude, I need flippers.
I grabbed them from base and then returned back to a different lake and I tried again.
How are you supposed to trap these?
After a little bit of trial and error, I finally got my first fish trapped.
Finally. Got 1.
Getting fish number 2 was a bit easier as it kind of just stared into space while I was trapping it.
Yes.
But then a wild fairy noticed me and it wasn't a fan of me migrating a few fish from its local pond, and it decided to throw hands with me.
No way you broke my flippers, bruh.
I ran back home to repair them before heading back out to catch the rest of the fish for Kipper. Fish number 3 got trapped on day 94, shortly followed by fish number 4.
1 more. I don't know if I'll be able to bag 1 more.
But I did, so I had all 5 of the baskets filled and ready.
Let me get some gilly and bug repellent. I'm gonna go back to that cave.
I submerged into the lake once again to visit the Kipper cave. And inside I put on my ghillie and bug repellent, but my cover was blown kinda quickly when I ran straight into 2 megalanias at the entrance.
Why are they at the door, dude?
I clapped both of them with my thyla and then went in again. However, I got bitten by another megalania, which gave me mega rabies. Anyways, I ran through the cave, shot out a couple of aranios, and I was at the otter shrine once again.
Ah, hello. Level 40?
There were a few patches of water in the ground, so I tried to release one of the fish, but it just disappeared.
Brother. Okay, yeah, I gotta get him in the water.
I tried grappling to one of the otters, but he didn't even budge, so I had to resort to something a little less friendly.
Alright, I'm gonna have to commit a crime and punch a kipper. Oh,
Punching one of them made all the other kippers mad, so I grappled to the ceiling and I made them all fall into the water.
alright, now we gotta wait for them to chill out. That hurt my soul to hit that guy.
I waited a bit for them to calm down and then finally jumped into the water. I released another fish and smacked it with my hatchet, and then I dragged the body to a level 50 otter.
Yes.
I released the fish, smacked it, but this one apparently went straight into the shadow realm as it disappeared right in front of me.
What?
I released fish number 4, fed the otter, and then released the last fish. I killed it, dragged the body over, and fed the otter, but...
What? You can't tame them! No! Are you serious? 156% tamed.
With such devastating news, I made my way out of the cave and I swam around the lake for one last time just to see if there was any otter out here by chance. But apart from the fish, it was empty, so I had no other option but to leave without a kipper. This is a sad, sad day. This whole 100 days is sad now. Can't believe this. I returned back home on day 95.
Okay, I need to get my Rexes to the obelisk.
So I got on my Yudi and I whistled some of my Rexes out. Also, this wild Dilo thought it would take the opportunity and just run into my base. So of course, I dealt with it accordingly before getting the rest of my Rexes out as well. And thankfully, the green obelisk was just behind this mountain, so the journey over was short and simple. I then aligned the Rexes around the terminal and ran back home. There was also a red drop coming down near my base, so of course, I took the gamble and checked it out. But I didn't get anything good out of it, sadly. On day 96, I opened up a yellow drop with a ring that was also full of garbage. I then farmed some fiber and I repaired my flak up to get ready for the boss.
I don't totally know what to expect. I think I should farm up some more shotgun shells just in case things go real south.
So the rest of the day I farmed with the Enki and I made some more shotgun shells. I also farmed wood on day 97 and I filled it into my forges for charcoal.
Okay, I have a hunch the arena might be a little hot, so I think I'm gonna go out and grab some organic polymer so I can fix up my ghillie.
I hopped in my Thyla and ran over to my good friends, the penguins. I then crafted up a few clubs and I got to work.
Oh, gang rolling up, bro. I have upset the ops.
With the polymer acquired, I returned back home and repaired my ghillie on day 98. And for the rest of the day, I just kept up with the shotgun shell production. And with the last few shells made, it was time to head out to the green obelisk on day 99.
Alright, man. Got a bunch of shotgun bullets. I think I'm ready as I can be for the boss. Happy with the progress I made on Svartalfheim. It's time to take down the Bane of Fordor. 100 days and I still don't know how to say its name. Whatever.
Over at the green obelisk, I actually forgot to bring the tributes, so I made a quick trek back home to get them. And coming back with the tributes, a basilisk thought he could phase me. So I put him back in his place and I waited for day 100 to roll around. I then checked the tribute terminal to see if I could actually start the fight, but I came across two setbacks.
You gotta be level 115? Players in 10 teams allowed. You didn't even... Hold up. Nah. This is not sliding.
And I had to ask the art gods for a small favor in the terms of levels. And they were actually kind enough to give me them, so day 100. I returned back to base once more to grab medical brews and some food for the fight. And now, finally, with everything prepared, I threw the tributes into the terminal and I started up the boss fight.
Don't know what I'm going into. We're going in. Oh, dude, I forgot the 10 teams allowed. Okay, well, I gotta hope my Uranus gets in. This boss, surely it's easy if you only need 10 tames, right? Okay, made it in. Okay, I knew it. It was hot. Oh my god.
Just like that, the final fight had began. Thordor roared at me and immediately started attacking my Rexes, dealing a lot of damage with each strike.
Oh my god, it's doing so much damage.
I kept on roaring with my Yudi, boosting my Rexes, which lowered the damage that they would take. But my Rexes also weren't putting out the greatest of damage numbers either.
Oh, what is it summoning? Oh, it's summoning trolls.
And one of my Rexes actually decided to use 100% of its brain power and flank the Thordor out the backside, where it couldn't get hit like the rest of them. And Thordor's health was at the half point as well. But my Rexes were getting seriously bloody.
Not good. Come on, boys. Come on. Clutch up for me.
The boss also summoned a few nameless creatures, but those got deleted instantly.
There's definitely more than 10 Rexes in here. What?
And surprisingly, Thordor fell to the ground defeated, without having taken down a single one of my Rexes.
Come on. Surely we get... Yes! We got it! Oh, the supply crate.
Inside, I was rewarded with a ton of element and the trophy for killing the Alpha Bane of Thordor.
Oh, this is a trophy? Okay, I gotta display this in my base. Yes, sir, dude.
And I definitely had more than 10 Rexes inside the arena, but I still beat the boss on Alpha, so it counts as a win in my books. Anyways, once I got teleported back into the world, I hopped on my Thyla and ran back home to make one more change in my base before I end off this video.
Okay, this looks cool. Oh, it's tiny. This looks cool, though. Wait, hold up.
I moved the trophy display above my artifact pedestals, and that already looked much better.
There we go. All my hard work played right in front of your eyes. Hope you enjoyed this one.
Even though I didn't get to kill and teabag all the island bosses as well, I still had a blast playing this new map. The new caves filled with various traps and puzzles were a fun challenge, which actually made getting the artifacts feel really rewarding. But I'm also super depressed that I wasn't able to tame a Kipper in this 100 days. But I'll make sure to tame 2 in the next 100 days to make up for it.